platform is independent, and we wanted to work with everyone across the spectrum. So folks are invited to share what they know, and the viewers makes their choice, and we ask the questions, and we give the just the opportunity to answer.
This craziness, man, I do not care. Why am I so anti-establishment? Because of what I've seen the establishment do to people. That's why I cannot be pro-establishment.
Power is in the hands of the people. And it really did. What we all witnessed is the government, they knew that they're heading in the wrong direction. They knew Gambians are speaking in the same voice.
What law in the books that says the government has power to come out and go after folks' private citizens' properties and demolish them because somehow the government interest?
The only way that we can salvage our country is when everybody that gets their hand dirty. Don't sit there with your expertise and just to procrastinate everything that people say or pontificate, what everybody says or does. Let's get our hands dirty.
Good afternoon, good afternoon. Another Sunday for the people, by the people. I'm right here with my main man, Brother Morong from Vancouver. All we can say right now is thank God to Allah, because when we left last Sunday, we said we will be back, inshallah. And here we are. Brother Morong, good afternoon, my man.
Good morning from my end, Good afternoon at your end. But yeah, I'm doing good, man. Alhamdulillah, we're back here this Sunday and
absolutely
talking about the issues and, looking forward to it. But it's poor raining today. So,
really?
Yes.
Okay.
Since last night, man. It's been raining.
Brother Morong is getting interesting. It's getting interesting. People are saying that for some of us political junkies, I mean, we can't have it anything better than what we are witnessing right now. A lot of things are happening, and 2026 is still over a year away, but it looks like people are ready for it to be here tomorrow. I can't believe it. A lot of things are happening. And yes, we're going to be having this afternoon Dr. Gagigo. A lot of speculation that the guy is going to throw his head in the ring. We want to get into that. I mean, Pasamba would say the more the merrier. I have a totally different take. But yes, democracy is alive. And 2026 is beginning to be seen as an important. We saw the IEC came out with the calendar. Registration of voters starting in April. Elections are going to be held December 5th. December 6th, we will know who is going to be leading the Gambia for the next 5 years. Well, like I always say, when everything is said and done, it's us. It's going to be in our hands. The destiny of our country. We can't outsource it. We can't blame anyone. We have to seize the moment. Kuchineka. And I'm hoping we will do that. And I just want to remind, we like to believe that this is an independent platform, Sariang. You said that, I said that. Sariang never said that he's independent. He didn't believe that most of his views, he comes here with an independent perspective. So do I. Each and every one of you that are watching, we are saying we all belong and share this platform. Your own independent views, partisan views, or whatever what you want to call it. But we're just always appealing to you Let's do it without the insults. Let's do it without the kajafi. Let's do it without the disrespect. Let's all do it with civility. Let's agree to disagree. Ain't nothing wrong with that. You may think that this Musajeng is what he's talking about, he's biased, he's all of that. It's okay. Your time be biased, but we can all do it respectfully. I think that is really important. So again, I thought I'd take the opportunity to remind all of you. Nañ leen agree to disagree. Nañ leen nekk ci bantaba bi, and then let's have our disagreements. We're a monolithic group. We may all be Gambians, same experience. But again, we are different people. The way we see things are different. So I'm just appealing to all of you. Let's respect each other. Sometimes I read things or people say something that I feel disgusted, that I totally disagree. But it's not how I channel it, I think is equally important. So I thought I'd just take a moment to remind myself and to all of you that are logging in, let's play by the rules. Democracy, yes, but we can also have a conversation and make sure that we're civil the way we do it. Hi, my man, brother Tsarian.
The opening today is civil. Is that where the top
Yes, sir.
talking point is this morning?
Civility is important, and people say,
I think it's important, Musa. I think I always believe, if you say something that is contrary to my belief, we just need to have a conversation. We need to challenge each other intellectually and based on ideas, persuasion. It shouldn't resort to insult. It shouldn't resort to bullying, harassment. Everyone has the freedom to associate yourself with whoever you want. But I think it's more dignified to have a civil conversation, a civil discourse based on ideas. Gambia has a lot of problems. I don't know why people think it needs to be personal and it needs to. We have a government which is incompetent. We cannot do anything right. We got scandals over scandals. And I think the idea of attacking people, not talking about that issue every single day, it's just a disservice to the people who continue to struggle, on daily basis. We've seen reports coming out. They couldn't do things the right way. And I think the reason, I call it the confluence of the emergence of different political parties. If you look at the common denominator among all the contenders, is that the country is in the wrong direction. Right. And how do we mobilize and so sort of come great ideas that is ultimately gonna lead us to where we need to go as a country? I think that is very, very fundamental. So this back and forth personality, I really don't think so. I think we need to raise beyond that. The bickering, the back and forth. Present ideas. We have a lot of Gambians who are very, very talented, and I think the country deserves better than its current predicament by every measure and by every standard. And I'm going to implore upon everyone who ultimately wakes up every morning and desire that we need to take our country in a different direction. Let's change the conversation. Let's challenge each other. Even if you don't agree with some folks, appear with them, have a discussion, provide an alternate solution. What your thinking is, have a dialogue. And at the end of the day, we'll come to a consensus. And I think it's very, very important. Facebook becomes toxic. People dare not express their views without calling them names or vilifying them. And I think we should transcend beyond that. I think the importance of our country and the love that folks do and the passion that they throw out there should translate into ideas. Ideas that is going to distinctively, you know, differentiate the current status quo and what we wanted to offer in the future. And there is a stark contrast. You either stay on the status quo, which is lack of, better healthcare, uh, inefficiency of the government on their key deliverables, corruption, and lack of accountability, or have a government in the future that is for the people, who is going to provide, uh, you know, efficient services to the voters who dearly need them for 60 years, because we have stagnation, we got debt upon debt, and there is lack of accountability. And if you do believe that, I think we need to rise up rise up above the usual bickering, personality, insult, tribes, and all that sort of stuff, because Gambia deserve a better. And my message is we need to keep fighting, because I think our destiny is in our hands, and we cannot do it without being divided. We're being divided, going at each other. That's even gonna make us in difficult to sit down and talk about stuff that we all share. And I think it's very, very important we all reflect on that. Yeah, I think that's very, very important.
Without a doubt, extremely important. Brother Morong, there was also one thing that kind of occupied my mind. I mean, and it has a lot to do with, and this is actually going all the way back to the days of the struggle in the diaspora when it all started. And like we always said, the fight was kind of very lonely in the wilderness. And Gambians, we have a tendency to what I would call, we want to play it safe. We want to, in the streets of James, Senegal, where I grew up, we used to have a name for it. Nyunkode Oye Watch Hand. I mean, you play it safe. And you want to wait until the cloud is clear, aferi lerna, which call it being cautious. But I have come to believe, and they call it the chicken and egg story. For something to be successful, people have to get involved. Pasamba, in this opening salvo, he said something like, sitting on the margins. He said something like, we all have to get our hands dirty. He said, we can't pontificate. We can't, let's take ownership of it. Like any other new thing, people always want to say, you know what, dama def ndanka, li hawma fan la jëm ni, and I don't know what's going to happen, so I don't want to get caught up. Some, they want to say, I want to wait until I see a little bit of traction and success before I jump on the bandwagon. I get it. But that might be a problem for that. For something to work, everyone has to be on board. That is, if you believe that the Gambia, the trajectory is heading in the wrong direction, if you believe that Gambia has to be rescued, if you believe that change should happen, you cannot sit and say, I'm going to wait until I see whether this thing is going to work or not. I totally disagree. You see, you remember, and I hear it from different political parties, they do say that, or organizations in general, even here when we have our local agera. When the people that kind of do the work, you remember when Yaya Jammeh said, it's not going to be nakalati, monkey walk, baboon eat? Or baboon eat monkey work?
Monkey work, baboon chop. That's how they say.
Monkey work, baboon chop. You know exactly. We all know what Trump is saying. You will hear even the United Democratic Party, they will be like, wait a minute. We did the work when no one believed in it. We put our lives on the line when no one believed in it. Now, all of a sudden, there is success. You all want to embrace it? NPP would say that. There's going to be a lot of elbowing because the very people that embrace it and do the work, dañoo fear. I don't know whether you know what fear is. The fear is somebody. And why am I saying all this? Because it's a typical Gambian attitude. You talk to them, and I'm going to use this change as an example. They like it, but how much fun are them? They want to be conservative. They don't want to risk it. Some, I mean, and maybe it's unfair, but I'm still going to say it. From the UDP camp, for instance, there are a lot of people that kind of, right now, they are you would say, the foundation of this change movement. You know, the Tombong said is the Karafa Sonkos, the Taliban Sudas, you know, people that were part of the United Democratic Party. And there are others, in spirit, they actually believe in it. But they want to be careful. But I want to caution them that being careful could undermine it. There are outsiders that also believe in it, but they want to be careful because they don't know where this thing is heading. So the kind of response that you would get is, I don't know what the agenda is. I don't know what their policy prescriptions is. Well, there's no agenda, there's no policy prescription. It's a movement for change. And they're saying, you come and let's put together the agenda. Let's put together the policy prescriptions. Let's put together the strategy that is needed for it to be successful so that we can bring about change. No, I get it. I get it. That you have to be careful what you're getting into. I get that. But all I'm saying is that could be the problem of any movement or political party for that matter. If we all demonstrate a wait and see attitude to see whether this thing is going to take off, lolu munata do take off. But I believe if you buy into it, I think it's about time you step out of the shadows and say, I am part of this. If you don't want to be part of it, I get it. You want to be part of something else. We're going to be talking to Dr. Gagigo. A new thing. But all I'm saying is reminding myself and everybody else, change only happens when we get involved. When we be part of it. You remember back home in the old days, moto bi munta dem so gay dañu ñew ñep pousse. Nga pousse ma be moto bi daw. But if you want to wait until moto bi daw, I don't know, maybe ñun ñep suñ pousse moto bi du daw de, du takka de. Again, I just thought this afternoon, Brother Marang, I remind myself and everybody else the change only happens when we take ownership. Brother Marang.
Yep, appreciate you throwing the red meat out there to the those who are on the Senate. But Musa, I think we have to be fair to people if they say they wanted to wait. I don't see any issues with that. And going back to history, we've seen movements, we've seen political parties, the emergence of them, and just the euphoria from the start, that really doesn't translate much. But I think it's also important for the folks who've been thinking about it uh, to put the structure in place behind the scene. And when you roll out, you get a buy-in from the greater, majority of people. And I think as a strategist and who is very passionate about the movement, so now for someone who is undecided, who pose these questions to you, you should have a definite answer. I mean, rather than saying, okay, you need to come back, be part of the change. How about if that person just want to be part of the movement when they know all the details are rolled out and you got this whole thing on four wheels and spinning, and they wanted to be part of it. I mean, all the organizations and political parties, as you rightfully said, UDP, for example, 1996, you got people who were out there, who were in the formation. There were other people who joined during halftime. Some people joined at the final hour, but they've been given the same to come in and be part of this political party. So I really think there is a lot of work. I mean, political party, you and I just said it's not going to be easy there. That's a borrow phase. And I think these are the difficulties that a new movement or new political party is going to face. But it's also very incumbent upon the folks who are behind the thinking or the innovation of that movement to convince others that this is going to be different. This is something. And I think that's where I think for me, if they ask what the agenda is and all that, I think it's incumbent upon people who are selling and convincing people to come on the other side to sell the agenda of the movement, not just say, oh, you have to be part, or it's going to be fair. I think that's very, very convincing for me. I think lay it out straightforward, what will be different? What will be the motivation factor? Why do we even create this movement in the first place? And what do we see moving forward? What can they provide that ordinary parties before them or ordinary movement who turn into be a political party, why are they different? I think this is a question that I'm going to impose back to you for you to share with the viewers.
Like I said, that's a fair question to ask. That I'm sure eventually the movement is going to come out. And because again, I just want to be clear. I don't speak for the movement. I'm just what I would call an individual who embraces the movement because I believe it has potential. And I have been, like most people, I mean, I never really formally joined a party or anything like that. I've always have my biases here and there, but this time around, I said, I'm not just only going to do that. I am also going to identify myself with, and even if I'm going to be critical for the movement, I'll come out and be extremely critical, irrespective of saying that I am part of it. But again, when the time comes, a question like that, okay, what is the movement about? What is the agenda? What is the proposal? I'm going to arm myself with that, and I'm going to come and I'm going to share it. But at this juncture, all I'm saying is there's a reason why we all know that Talib Bensouda wants to form a political party. Talib Bensouda wants to run in 2026. I have always said I supported him because I think he can win. Crazy as that may sound. I also said, going all the way back to 2018, the person that I saw, he has potential to be a great leader in the Gambia. That's what I believe. That may not be the case because I don't know him. All you can do is just look at an individual and you look at his public persona pronouncements in Nakaladefe. He's been in the municipality for 10 years, an elected official, public official. So at least, whatever I thought of him going all the way back to 2018, I mean, I'm still convinced that he has what it takes if given the opportunity. So Loluman Mota mo join the movement. And I also joined because I want to have my say, communicate. And I'm not going to be a cultist. No, I'm not going to do that. And I want to start that by even today to remind the movement that they need to be very careful. You see, the movement is a breakaway from the United Democratic Party. I mean, that's the foundation. It's the truth. And if they believe that their success is going to lie by making it about the United Democratic Party, attacking the party, attacking the leader, especially the people that are supporting the movement because you do not like UDP, you need to be careful. The success of the movement cannot be based on attacking and disrespecting the United Democratic Party. It's very, very unfortunate. I have said it before, and I'm going to keep saying it, that both the UDP and the movement, Sumadon Nyom, I know emotions are high now at this stage, and they're going after each other. But that's not going to help them. It's not going to help the UDP, and God knows it's not going to help the movement. They need to refocus. They need to be about winning people over. They need to minimize going after the United Democratic Party. Because seriously, if winning and heading to the State House is the ultimate goal, I can tell you this for free. Attacking, trying to cut down the UDP is not going to do it. Seriously, it's not. There are strange bedfellows. Politics dafa naka lako all of you wahe. Tanki aduna dafa guda, something like that. So again, we have our Dr. Gagigo is here. So
let me get my coffee, man. I'll be back, Fadamos.
I did say that for him to dial in 5:30, which he did 1:30 our time. But let me bring Dr. Gagigo. Dr. Gagigo, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Jeng. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. I'm doing well. How are things?
We are managing here. Thanks for having me on your show.
Absolutely, absolutely. I remember you were here like what? Few months ago, or was it last year? 6 months?
Something it was late last year. It's almost a year.
It's almost a year. It's almost a year.
It was almost at the same time last year, so it's actually close to a year.
Wow. Yeah. And even then, we talked a little bit about, and I'm like, Dr. Gagigo, based on your answers, I don't know. I'm smelling something. And it looks like things are happening.
Yeah, looks like your political sense is finely attuned. You are able to detect things very early, or exactly. Maybe you just have good informants. I don't know.
No, it's not informant. It's the instincts. When you have conversations with individuals based on their answers, you'll be like, "What is this man not telling me?" Or what is he telling me with subtlety? But yeah, and we're gonna definitely get into that. And Dr. Gagigo, even I know that you haven't made any formal announcement, but speculation about, and then there's this talk about, what do they call it? The Patriotic Progressive Alliance. I mean, I don't know whether is it a movement. I don't know whether it's a party to be registered, but I want to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself and also introduce this entity supposedly called the Patriotic Progressive Alliance. Dr. Gagigo.
No, thank you. Yes, well, my name is Usman Gagigo. I'm here in Brusubi. Greetings to all your listeners. In terms of my background, I always have a bit of difficulty telling people where I am from. Right. My dad was a teacher. We moved around the country. So I was born in Fatoto in URR. but my dad's from in Upper Badibu. So moved around the country quite a bit, different parts of URR, CRR, LRR, NBR. But then I attended Nusrat High School, and then did 1 year of sixth form in Gambia High before moving to the US for my tertiary education. Yeah, so did my my bachelor's in Indiana at Wabash College, my master's in San Diego, and my my doctorate at the University of Wisconsin. So I've been worked in different institutions. So my first professional job was with Columbia University in New York. Did quite a bit of research work in East Africa at the time before joining the World Bank. Then after the African Development Bank, and I was briefly at the UN. But then around 2015, decided to move back to the Gambia. So on and off, I've been mostly in the Gambia since 2015. I did take some time to move back to the ADB briefly, but that wasn't for a very long stint. So I've been here, and since that time, I've mostly been engaged in agriculture. I have several farms across the country, and also continue to do international consulting with a number of institutions such as the World Bank, the BRICS Bank, African Development Bank, and the UN.
Dr. Gagigo, anyone who listens to that introduction, that's a hell of a resume. Very impressive. In
Thank you.
Forming a political party in the Gambia has become kind of, one would say, the fastest job creation. There are parties all over the place. And people see it as a way of, at least that's the perception, that most people that are forming political parties now, or even going all the way back to 2021, they were doing it because they want to have a seat at the table.
Right.
And so now, whenever there is a political party, people forming it, people roll their eyes. Bro, guy, they are all in it. I'm going to say an affair. Right? First of all, why would your forming a political party be different than anybody else? Why are you forming a political party? You have the resume, yes, but people are looking at it and said, there are a lot of ways that that resume could be used to make a difference. And I mean to make a huge difference. Why does it have to be forming a party?
Yes. No, very good question. And it's a very relevant question. And I think the reaction of people to this long stream of political parties being created, it's natural. We are getting so many political parties. Don't we have enough? First of all, I'll have to say I call this the Adama Barrow effect. People create political parties for all different reasons. I cannot claim to speak for other people, but you can sort of see why almost any individual would want to form a political party. I mean, after you see Adama Barrow and his government in power, and you see how they are performing, how seriously they take the job, or lack of seriousness for that matter. I mean, if you randomly pick an average Gambian on the streets of Serekunda or Basse or Farafenni, you're likely to come up with somebody who will do better than Adama Barrow and his cabinet ministers. You, in fact, have to select very negatively before you come across somebody who will do worse, I believe. So in a sense, it should be very surprising if we don't see other people trying to come in and form a party, if everyone just leaves the same legacy parties being in existence. I think we should think of the alternate universe. Imagine the alternate universe where since 2021 or 1996, no new party has been created. It's the same crew of political parties. Wouldn't that be strange that we are not seeing new players coming in, new faces, people possibly with new ideas? So I think it's also important to think of that scenario. For me, having a lot of political parties is not a problem in and of itself, because we are not required to go and split all our votes among themselves. You can still have 100 political parties. The vast majority will get less than 1% in any given election, as it happens anytime. People forget that in the election in Senegal, there are many political parties. So yeah, so in and of itself, having political parties is not a problem. Let people give everyone the opportunity to say what they need to say, explain their ideas before the people, and then people will make their decision. Nobody will be forced to split their vote for anyone who doesn't convince people. So going back to your main question as to why, yes, I've had a very good career. I mean, I could have easily continued with my international career. I voluntarily left my international career to come back into the country because I wanted to be based into the country. And when I came, I wasn't, I didn't lack for what I wanted to do. I knew exactly what I wanted to do, which is agriculture. I have several farms in the country. I've started several initiatives. These farms cultivate a lot of crops, introduce a lot of new horticultural products. I have introduced aquaculture in different regions of the country. I'm employing dozens of Gambians youth. These farms are doing very well. We are supplying the local market. So as far as I am concerned, when it comes to career aspirations or things I wanted to do, politics was the last thing on my mind. Mm-hmm. But being in the country for a decade, being here in the last few months of the Jammeh regime, and then going through the race hopes of seeing a new transitional government come in, and seeing the major letdown, observing the election in 2016 and then again in 2021. Then for me, I realized, because before I went into politics, I actually looked at some of the existing parties to see which ones I could throw my weight behind. Mm-hmm. But then when you see many of these political parties in action, you come to the realization that Gambia deserves better, and the menu of options in front of them, it could definitely be much better. Nothing would really work for me better than to see a political party, like, let's say a few years back, that really I believe not only do they have the capacity, but the vision and the program. Nothing would would make me more content than to throw my support behind them and continue on with my other initiatives. So the reason I entered into the political field is because I've looked at the political field, I've looked at the political landscapes and seen the political parties that are in existence. Some of them, I've seen them in action, and I've come to the conclusion that Gambia could do a lot better. So this is why, instead of joining some existing party, instead of staying in the private sector or doing other things, I basically decided that I'm going to throw my heart in the ring, so to speak, based on my experience, based on my knowledge of the sectors that I believe are essential for the Gambia to go forward. I believe that I can present a program of actions that not only will it represent a radical change from what we are doing, but I believe it can set the country on a development trajectory that we have so far been denied.
Go ahead, Brother Maro.
Thank you, Dr. Gagigo, for joining us today. We really appreciate it. So, Dr. Gagigo, I listened to you, and you mentioned the Barrow effect. I call the arcade of the effect of incompetency, lack of accountability, and foresight. These political parties they are not created out of vacuum. There was something that is driving the formation of these or the emergence of new political parties. And you've been very, very critical of the government and the way they conduct businesses, and just by hearing from you, you wholeheartedly believe the trajectory of our country needs to be swayed in a total different direction, and Gambians deserve better. Musa and I and many other Gambians believe in the same too. But now, looking at everything that's been happening, what do you think would be the common denominator as far as getting Gambians, majority of the Gambians, to buy in the messaging that the country is on a different direction and we deserve better and we need to take back our country from the hands of incompetency, lack of accountability, and lack of oversight, and lack of basic service delivery for the greater good of our Gambian citizens? What would be the message and what would be the driving force? Campaigns are always about the future, not the past. Now, you're thinking about forming your own political party. What would be that messaging like?
No, thank you. The issue here is that, as you rightly put it, the problem that we have is a leadership problem. We need to have the right leadership in order to move forward. So, but changing the leadership is only half of the battle. It's only half of the real battle here. It's not the fight over the position of the leadership in the government should be what people should understand, that it's not the goal itself, it's a means to an end. What is the actual end? To bring about a change in the country that will bring meaningful, development results for the country. This is the ultimate goal. And in order to be able to implement and effect such a change, we need to make sure that we have people there who have the capacity. First of all, you need to have a big part of solving any problem is understanding the problem. So people need to have a very good grounding and understanding of the problems we have today in the Gambia. Some of the most basic problems in the Gambia today are what? Food security, lack of economic opportunities, basic cost of basic cost of living of anything, things just not working, no public services, a very dysfunctional governance system where it's not a problem of individual offices or individual officers not doing their job, but a whole system that is broken down. So the key here is understanding very clearly what the problems are, what their root causes, then having a leadership that understands this problem but also has the capacity to implement a change, so that we don't have a change in leadership, but then we are still back at the same problem that we have. So for me, so in terms of going forward, for us, it's the key thing that we want to demonstrate, that we are going to demonstrate to the Gambian people, is our understanding of the problems that we are facing in the Gambia here. A very deep understanding, not some perfunctory understanding. And I don't mean just reading about them in some government reports. I mean being available, being present everywhere in the country, from Karton to Koina, from Wulli East all the way to Lower Nyomi, understanding what are the problems that the people face in their daily lives, understanding that at a very deep level, not just on some research piece of paper, but also having an understanding by virtue of the fact that you have mingled with the people to every part of the country. Once that understanding is there, and then you combine that with the ability, with also a track record of doing and delivering things, I think Gambia here has a chance. It's not Gambia, everybody knows addressing Gambia's problem. We're not talking about some intractable challenges here. We are talking about things that are eminently solvable. what is required and what has been missing so far is leadership. Leadership that has the competence, the integrity, and the know-how to actually bring those changes on the ground. And that is the option that I believe we will present to the Gambian people. Right now, we are a movement because technically, in a strictly legal sense, we are only a political party after we get the official approval from the IEC. But we have done all of the documentations and submitted all of the documents that are required. Now we are just waiting for the IEC's official reply.
Thank you, Dr. Gagigo. Yeah, so Dr. Gagigo, I listen to you, and obviously,
just one second, just turning on my fan.
Oh, okay.
It's a bit warm here.
Oh, okay. All right. So Dr. Gagigo, listening to you, you provide some insight as to what your leadership style will be and what you will bring at the table. But Dr. Gagigo, we have a lot of political parties in Gambia, and obviously they've been in existence for a long time. And during your conversation with Musa, you mentioned sometime in 2016, 2021, you definitely, found a political party who do you think could have or had the opportunity to take on the status quo. And my question is, since those political parties are still in existence, why couldn't you join those political parties and provide perspective or your expertise in terms of things structure-wise, that you think you would be a critical voice in terms of strengthening and harnessing those deficiencies, I would call it, to make it a better party rather than forming your own political party? So what do you say to that?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. There are a lot of existing political parties, and I actually, I'll tell you this, I actually approach some of these political parties to see what are their values, what are their, what are their governance structures are. I'll give you one specific example. There is one political party, I'm not mention names, where I went to have a discussion with the leader to get a better understanding of what are the economic programs that they have, what are some of the economic programs they can even talk about, they can propose. First of all, analyzing the economic problems we are facing, and then making sure that you design a program that addresses those problems in a credible way. But the first thing that political leader wanted to tell me was if I would just quickly go and announce my membership in their party, they will promise me a ministerial post. In other words, rather than having a very a concrete discussion of Gambia's economic sectors, if that party were privileged to come to power, rather than coming and sitting down, having a careful, a well-structured discussion about what they would do, the whole preoccupation is with what position somebody will have here and there. So this is one specific example. The general point is, let me answer this question in different ways. In 2021 election, most of the political parties that are in existence today participated. And the Gambian electorate decided to bring Adama Barrow back to power. What does that tell you? They have looked at the available option and they've made a choice that they would go with this current incompetent government in power because they have not been convinced that the alternative would be any better. If we come and present the Gambian people with the same set of options, have we, the people who have any interest in political leadership, Have we done our part? Shouldn't we try to present them with a different set of leadership options? Because all those parties that were present in 2021, they did not come and say we have totally revamped our leadership, totally revamped our manifestos, our economic plans, our policies, our foundations. They are essentially what they have been in 2021. So if Adam Barrow is going to continue to stand again, and the same political parties are still continue to oppose him, why do we expect a different result this time if everything is going to be similar? So I think it makes a lot more sense to look for a change. And since the same political parties that were standing are still presenting the same leadership, I don't see anything different. I voted for a different party in 2021. I didn't vote for Adama Barrow. I wanted change. But most Gambians decided that the devil you know in Adama Barrow is better than some of these options. So for me, I think we have a responsibility to present the Gambian electorate with a different option. Now, the burden is on us. These new political forces that are coming into existence, to present a winning case to the electorate. We cannot just come and say, by virtue of the fact that we are different from the legacy parties, that we need to be elected. No, that's not sufficient. We need to convince the Gambian people. That burden is on us to convince the Gambian people. We here present a different set of alternatives. These represent a real change. Not only is it going to represent a change to the Gambia, to the leadership, but it also means a change in the future of the country. We'll be able to put the country on a different trajectory. So here, I believe that coming into creation of a new political party, and I suspect at some point many of us will come together, and I hope we do come together in a coalition, because I see quite a bit of overlap between what the programs that some of us have with the new parties. I do believe that when we come together, we will present the Gambian people with a different alternatives. Now, it's possible that maybe if we present, Gambians may decide, okay, we will go and vote for some other old party. Well, that would mean that we did not succeed in convincing Gambian people. So we have 12 months also to make that case to the Gambian people, properly diagnose our problems, and convince them that the programs, development programs we have for the country are relevant, they are feasible, and they will put the country on a very strong upward trajectory.
Thank you, Dr. Gagigo. And I took some words and I'll wait for my second round. They are very profound. The devil you know, or somebody you wanted to vote them in. And if you guys, Barrow wins in 2026, the emergence of political parties failed in their messaging to convince Gambian people for a change. But I'll wait for my round to explore that further down. So go ahead, Father Moss.
So Dr. Gagigo, I listened to you very carefully. And like most Gambians, and even the comments that I'm reading, people are rolling their eyes and they're very skeptical that there's a lot more to you forming your political party. The guy wants to be president. This whole idea that you've looked at all the parties and you said, you know what, the fact that these parties were rejected back in 2021, that means we have to do things differently. And you were convinced to do that, you have to form your own party. And that somehow you have the answers that the Gambian people will see you as a viable alternative. What is there about you, whether it's in strategy or it's in terms of policies, that you think you have now that these parties did not have? Let's take, for instance, and you can refer them, and I think it's important for us to be specific. Let's take, for instance, DOI. They've been rejected for the past 40 years. That's because United Democratic Party. For the past 29 years, they've been rejected. And now you think you've looked at them, or GDC for that matter, and you don't see yourself in them, that you have to create something new under you. And that somehow that is the missing link for the Gambians to vote for the alternative rather than President Barrow. What do you say to that? If people are so cynical and they don't really buy into what you're saying, can you tell us that really this is your reasoning? Because people are not buying it. They think you just want to be president.
Well, I'm not sure it's correct to say people are not buying what I'm saying, because we have not even started campaigning yet. You are reading a few comments on your program, so let's be specific about that.
That's true.
A few comments on your program is not the Gambian electorate talking.
Fair enough. You're right, Dr. Gagigo. Fair enough. Definitely.
But it's a valid point. I think people have a right to be cynical. In fact, I believe people should be cynical. If I come before anybody and I present my plan, they will be doing the country an injustice if they simply just believe whatever I'm supposed to say. People should be questioning. People should be critical. People should be cynical. That, I think, is good. It's a filtering mechanism where everyone who is standing before them, that burden is on them. That onus is on them to convince. You shouldn't approach people where, even as long as you are breathing, it's like, oh, he's one of us, he's from our area, or he does this, and therefore we must support him. That is not a basis on which to select a good leader. The country has been, in a bad state of development for such a long time that the criteria with which we need to select our leaders has to be stringent. So I welcome the fact that people are being cynical. I welcome the fact that just like they would approach other people's announcement, they approach my announcement with cynicism. That is not a problem for me. I welcome that, because I am entering this battle not with any sense of entitlement. I have no existing before I started commenting, I had no pre-existing name recognition. I didn't come from a political family. I didn't come from a rich family. Where I am today due to hard work, some luck along the way, absolutely, but I wasn't given anything on a silver platter, or I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. Mm-hmm. So to the other point, I do not believe I am special. I do not believe I need to be president. I have no aspiration in an official to become a president. A few years ago, if you asked me whether I was going to have anything to do with politics, I would tell you there's zero chance. I have a lot of opportunities in life to have a very comfortable life, whether in international appointment or staying in the US or doing private business in the Gambia here. I have a business that is thriving, that is employing dozens of young Gambians. I will lose a lot more income being involved in this endeavor than I will ever gain. Even if you put the salary of the Gambian president on a upward trajectory, it will be many years before it will approach the salary I used to earn. Mm-hmm. So, in fact, and let me give another example. In 2017, when I left the FAO to come back to the Gambia, I met some government officials and I told them I'm willing to work in any Gambian ministry, in any Gambian government sector where they think I could be needed. On one condition, I do not want a salary. I made that because there's nothing in this government. My motivation is what is in the nation's interest. But guess what? That was when I began to have an idea of the sort of government we are having. Because once that condition was there, I don't need any salary. I didn't get calls back.
Really?
Yes. I spoke to a permanent secretary both in the office of the vice president and the office of the president that I didn't want a salary. Even up to a few months ago, I have it. Some of these officials would contact me about some documents that they want a better understanding of. A current minister approached me because they got a document from the World Bank that deals with a state-owned enterprise. They couldn't understand it very well. I broke down the document for them, helped them get a better understanding. Unfortunately, they went and did the wrong decision. There are many. So the point I'm trying to make here, for me, I have a lot of options apart from going into government. And you don't have to take my word for it. Anybody who looks at my track record, my career history, that should be sufficient to indicate that going into politics or any sort of electoral office is not something I would do for material gain. So my ambition here is not the position itself. The political position is a means to an end. What is the ultimate end here? To make sure that to help the country develop. And even as we discuss, I'm sure some discussions will start ongoing between other political parties. One of the first principles I will have is that in any discussion where it is focused on who will get what position or another position in government, I will pack my bags and not be out of it, and not be part of that. Because I am not in this for a position or what financial benefit that position brings. If there is a discussion on the economic challenges, how parties coming together, how they will address the social and the economic challenges of the country, that's a discussion I want to be part of. So to answer your question, I do not believe that I'm a savior sent to the Gambian people.
Got you.
I believe there are a lot of competent people who can be far better presidents, who can really help the Gambian government, the country move forward. Now, you need to have certain conditions be met. First of all, the person has to be competent and have the desire to work in the political field. Because let me tell you, this is not an easy field to be in. I've only been here for a short time, and I've seen some of the abuses and insults people can receive.
Yeah.
And not everybody is willing to go through that.
Definitely.
I knew what I was going through, and I have no problem because I know the stakes are high. I know this is beyond me as an individual. I'm willing to take the abuse because what is at stake is far important than my own personal feelings. So in this case here, for me, I feel that I'm a Gambian who is privileged enough to get a good level, to good training, good understanding of the problems we face economically, particularly in key sectors like agriculture. I have worked with in positions where I've interacted with many governments across many countries around the world. I've worked in the private sector, so public sector, private sector, philanthropic organizations. I've worked in all of those areas. I know the country very well. There is not a region here or a district in the country I have not been to or met people. So in terms of what this country needs, in terms of the options that should be given to Gambian people, I believe I have something to offer, which is why I put my heart in the ring. So I have that responsibility to make sure that I share this message with all Gambians over the next 12 months, and it is up to the Gambian people to make their choice. And I believe that Gambians are ready for a change because just these past 5 years alone has opened the eyes of many people in the country.
Dr. Gagigo, as I listen to you, and I've talked to other people that know you, whether it's at the ADB or just people and their opinions. And nobody would doubt, your intellect. And some would say even your character and honesty. And some are even saying, why would he even jump in the ring? Into politics. From your answers, there was something that I heard that I know you're a smart guy, that you don't think you can win it alone, just forming the Patriotic Progressive Alliance. You don't believe can be elected alone come 2026. So you mentioned something that is going to take most likely you said when we all sit down. So I'm sure you're thinking about a coalition of parties coming together. Maybe that would be the only formula that can bring change in 2026. Again, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Do you agree to that? And if that is to happen, how do you see it happening? Because we've been there before, whether it was back in 2001, 2006, 2011, there's 2016, we finally got it right. 2021, there was a little talk about it. And here we are in 2026. Do you believe that what it's going to take to defeat the incumbent? And if that's the case, how do we go about it?
I'm not saying there has to be a coalition before the incumbent is unseated. I don't believe so. But I do. What I want to point out that the likelihood of beating the incumbent would be much higher if there is some sort of a coalition. Yes, and the key here is, again, as we talk about a coalition, it's very, very important to understand that that beating the incumbent is just half of the battle.
Mm-hmm.
As we talk about the coalition, we need to think about the day after the election. Who will be sitting there, the leader that will be making the decision, so that we don't end up the problem of Adama Barrow, where you had a successful coalition, you remove the incumbent, and here you have a new guy who turned out to be one of the biggest disappointments in history. So when we are talking about coming together to remove Adama Barrow in 2026, two things have to be there. We need to make sure that, first of all, as we come together in a possible coalition, we also at the same time think about what sort of leader we'll be coalescing around with. Because I will tell you, this is one of the things I tell people. I don't have a burning desire to become president for its own sake. If you tell me today, let's form a coalition, like right now, where everyone falls behind a single party, and you put somebody there that I do not, believe will be an improvement over Adama Barrow. It is, for me, my decision would be, go ahead, good luck to that coalition, I'll go back to my farm.
But you cannot be part of that.
I cannot be part, even if I know 100% they are going to win. Because I have no desire. If I wanted a ministerial post, by now I would have had it in this regime, I'm sure. Because I've had requests to meet the president, I refuse. I've had requests to meet many presidents, many ministers in this government, I refuse. I am not interested in any of these positions for their sake. For me, being in government or in political office, it should be a means to an end. The ultimate end or ultimate goal that we should be working towards is how to develop the country, so that our children, when our children grow up, when we tell our children how we grew up in the Gambia, it will sound alien to them. When we tell them how a particular street in Banjul used to look, or a particular street in Serekunda or Basse used to look, and 20 years, when they look at that street, they should have to open history books to verify what we are saying is true. Currently, whatever you described 30 years ago, any street in Banjul, it looks essentially the same.
Absolutely.
Anybody who has never been on Karawa Avenue for 30 years, you bring them back, it looks the same.
It's the same. Absolutely.
Anywhere in the country. In some places, it even looks worse.
Worst. Absolutely.
So when we are talking about a possible coalition, there's no doubt it will be talked about. In any situation where you have these two conditions, number one, there's a general belief that the incumbent has to go. Number two, there's a multitude of parties. The issue of coalition will come up, no doubt about that. But as we think about a coalition, it's very important to know that removing the incumbent is just part of the solution. In the long term, in fact, more important is who you put there, to make sure that it cannot be just somebody who's just slightly better than the incumbent, because in the Gambia we have been regressing. Let me give you an example to how badly we have been regressing. Our most important sector is agriculture. In the mid-1990s, just before Jammeh removed President Jawara, Gambia and Senegal had the same level of rice productivity, slightly over 2 tons per hectare. From mid-1990s onwards, Senegal has been on an upward trajectory. Gambia has been on a downward trajectory. So Senegal currently, the rice productivity doubled now. Currently, the rice productivity is twice that of what it was in 1994. They produce 4 tons per hectare. Gambia's rice productivity right now is less than 1 ton per hectare. It's the lowest in all of ECOWAS. In the mid-1990s, we were better than most of ECOWAS in rice production. Currently, we are worse than all of ECOWAS.
Wow.
This is the most important sector in the country. There are projects that I know the ADB gave some money to the Gambia government to develop rice cultivation in parts of URR in Woolly West, where people were cultivating certain hectares. Now, as a result of that money being given to the government, the government went and gave it to a few connected contractors who went and actually destroyed the rice field to such an extent that people in Woolly West, now they are growing rice on a fraction of the land that they used to grow rice on. Wow. I visited those rice fields a few weeks ago and even took a picture. I'll have some program about that later and share it with the people. These things are all happening, and in fact, it hasn't been reported in any media because most people are not aware of it. I know most politicians are not even aware of it because most politicians, you won't see them in Woolly West unless it's campaign time. Yeah. So the question here is not a coalition; it's a means to an end. So, what is the ultimate end?
So, Dr. Gagigo, I mean, before my man comes, I just want to follow up a little bit because you said something. You said it's not only enough for parties to come together and then defeat Barrow. In other words, you don't just want to replace Barrow. You really want to replace the system. But then you said, if an individual is chosen that you don't think will be the one effecting that change, you are going to walk away, even if there is assurance that it could be a winning formula. But my question is, though, it can be easily subjective to think that this individual may not be able to do it. How are you going to base your assessment? Wouldn't it be subjective, though? Or is there going to be a set of criteria that would decide that, okay, it's going to take a Sariang Marong or it's going to take a Dr. Gagigo and not Musa Jeng? How are you going to come up with that to determine whether this person would be the one effecting the change? How do you go about doing that?
Well, my opinion neither would be subjective, just like anyone's opinion would be subjective. But the program that PPA will be running on, Patriotic Progressive Alliance will be running on, that is something that will be a clear document. A document that will not, I mean, we'll have our manifesto like any political party.
Correct.
But what will differentiate us, and once we get our communication from IEC, this will be revealed to the public, is that the party will also look at every single sector in the country. Because when a new political party, when you come in, you just don't start working on your 5-point plan, your 6-point, 10-point, whatever points you have.
Right.
You have to basically govern the whole country. Every sector, every cross-cutting issue that the country needs to address, you have to hit the ground running. The country doesn't have the luxury of having a leader learning on the job. Definitely. You need to demonstrate an understanding of every sector, whether it's fisheries, whether it's industrialization, whether it's agriculture, whether it's health, whether it's education, whether it's urban planning, whether it's transport, whether it's energy. I mean, and when you do this list and you are exhaustive, you will be in a list that is well over 2 dozen. In the country. You need to have a leader that if you ask him about any particular sector, they will be able to tell you the importance of that sector to the country. Why are things bad as they are? What is the government doing wrongly about that sector? And be able to formulate implementable reforms and solutions that will address the problems in that sector. Taken together, across all sectors, across all cross-cutting areas, this should leave no doubt as to the readiness of an individual to basically effect change in the country. So I'm not just talking about my personal opinion here. Like as I mentioned earlier, correct, our discussion will be centered on programs of development for the country.
Absolutely.
Not just me saying that, hey, I don't like Musa Jeng's glasses or his hat. No, it will be based on concrete issues that are facing the country, that are relevant to the country, that that are sources of our lack of development. And any future leader here, if we are to have any hope in their ability to move us forward, that leader must be able to articulate to the Gambian people convincingly that first they understand the problem, Second, they have the capacity. Third, they have a program of action that is implementable and feasible, so that on day one, things can start moving in the right direction.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gagigo. Brother Marong.
Dr. Gagigo, thank you very much. I wanted to follow up on the last question that I asked you. And you mentioned, you vote for the devil you know than the devil that you don't know. Basically, you stick with the status quo. I wanted to further explore what will be the value proposition that creates some type of a niche that you think voters will gravitate towards, that will assure folks that definitely Gambians, you deserve better than what you're getting right now. And per se, the devil that you know, it's delivering less. And as people, after 60 years, we need something better. But what will be a sort of a value proposition that's going to be presented and that you think voters will gravitate towards that proposition?
No, thank you very much. I think, no, that's an excellent question. A big part of it, I think, it's basically knowing the country, talking to people, meeting them where they are. One of the failures, and one of the reasons again here, that is anyone who is resident in the country, you would know right away, is that virtually all of these legacy parties, the only time you see them going to the people, meeting them and talking to them, understanding their problems, is when the elections are approaching. I'll give you an idea. A few years back when I went to Upper Fuladu East, places that are like, Tandi, Daru, Joren, Joben, Jahanka, many of, Ker Usman Boy, Sar Sampate, these areas, the road is terrible. The physical distance, the straight line distance between those villages I named right now on Bansang is just a few kilometers. But the road is in such a horrendous state that if you were to go right now in Bansang and ask a taxi driver today, 10,000 you will pay him to take you to one of those villages, he'll probably say no. Because his car will probably go through such damage that he won't be able to repair it with what you are paying him with the fare. Even in places that are not difficult to reach, where some of these political leaders can easily go and visit, they will not go and visit those areas. So if you want to be convincing to people, it requires a lot of sincere effort. If you wait every 5 years, only the 5 years you go there and then you make promises from the ground to the sky, people can be forgiven for not taking you seriously. People can be forgiven for having a very cynical mind. People can be forgiven for thinking that they are just making these promises. When they get the votes, they'll just act like the incumbent. We won't see them again for another 5 years. I think this explains, for a large part, the failure of many of the opposition to remove the incumbent. So over the past couple of years, that, like I said, there hasn't been a single district that I have not been to here. Let me give you another very specific example. In many Gambian villages, you have these village gardens that are populated by women. I have a project where for many years I've been helping many of these communities with water, with seeds, with some of the things that they need, fertilizer and fencing. We know that these gardens are very, very important in the economic livelihood of these villages. Yet, the government's budget allocation doesn't allocate a single thing to this. That has an opportunity, that creates an opportunity for some of these opposition leaders to actually go and meet these communities, go to these gardens, understand the problems that these villages are facing, something that impacts their daily livelihood, their economic livelihoods. Yet, you would rarely see any of these existing political parties in these areas or in the farms of people in the middle of the rainy season. They would only wait until the campaign season is right in the thick of things. They'll arrive at the village Bantaba, put their speakers on, and make promises from A to Z. In order to present a credible alternative to people, you have to be sincere with the people. And that sincerity comes from making the effort to understand the problems they face in their daily lives. When you understand that problem, you talk to people, you make discussions or pledges of what you think you will address or what you believe they will address. People will listen. The credibility comes from the track record you have with interacting with people. So I believe that when we reach the Gambian electorate, by the time the election comes, what we have to offer will resonate because it will come from a place of sincerity. It will come with credibility that is not easily imitated, because this credibility comes from years of interacting with the people, understanding the problems they face across all sectors.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Gagigo. Dr. Gagigo, looking at all the challenges, I mean, you're on the ground, you've been there since 2015, understanding and interfacing with those who are vulnerable, whose plights that call you into action. If I say call you into action, meaning here you are thinking about forming a political party. Now, what would you consider the biggest threat that face our country right now?
The biggest what?
The biggest threat that face the Gambia right now.
Listen, the answer here is obvious and also also very tragic. First of all, the problems that we face in this country are, the problems that we face in these countries are very, it's a lot. I can talk about energy. I can talk about other things, but let me focus on something that is fundamental to any human society, which is food security. Today in the Gambia, if you talk about the number of Gambians that can effectively put 3 meals a day, and if you check the composition of these meals, they meet the basic calorie needs. They meet, nutritional diversity. The percentage of Gambian households that can meet this every single day throughout the year is a very depressing number. We import 90% of the rice we consume, almost all of the vegetable oil we consume, almost the horticultural products we still import a lot. Our fishery sector has been decimated. Inflation is high, but food price inflation is even more higher. At some point, it reached over 20%. Why? Because things that we need to, we could produce locally, we are still importing. The Gambia's import bill is about 700 million. The things we export is not even 200 million. That gap, by the way, between import and export has been the highest right now than it has been since Gambia got independence. So as you import more and more, you don't export, you don't get any foreign direct investment, your currency always constantly depreciate. But almost all food products and all consumer products are being imported. So your currency constantly has this downward pressure on it, continuous depreciation, which means even if the price of international commodities stay the same, your average Gambian, they are experiencing decreasing real income. Their nominal income may stay the same or even go up, but the price levels are going higher. But we know for a poor household, your biggest consumption item is food. So the biggest problem we have here is this fundamental food security problem. And here we have a government where the president says that his main priority is roads. And of all of the people in the Gambia that could be appointed into this important Ministry of Agriculture, he went and put there a political functionary like Demba Saban, whose only pronouncement throughout the year, anytime you hear him speak, is only about political matters, even in the middle of the rainy season. He doesn't have anything to say about the agricultural sector, the problems, the countless problems we face there. This government doesn't have an understanding of food. So instead of having government programs where you are favoring your nephew to import rice, why don't you use that money to help with local production of rice? Why do you go and give contracts to politically connected businessmen to make farmers worse off in upcountry? So I can talk about many other things that we are facing. But in terms of the problems that are the basic, the key economic problem, because without food, you cannot think about tomorrow. You need to address that basic problem before you can even talk about infrastructure. But if you address that problem right now, it will have a knock-on effect on many other sectors. But I guess if I talk about the failures of agriculture, I have to talk about the fundamental root of the problem, which is having a leader that, one, does not understand the problem, doesn't have the vision and the goal of moving the country out of the predicament that we are in. So at the core of this problem is this poor leadership, which is why, again, I'll come. As we talk about 2026 and how to have a change, we shouldn't just talk about voting Barrow out of office. But once Barrow is out of office, let's think about who can be put there. Let the Gambian people decide of the available options that they have. Who is the best candidate to put there so that we don't have a repeat of what we've had over these past 9 years?
Thank you. Faramos, just give me one quick
Absolutely,
second.
absolutely.
Give me one quick
Go ahead.
Dr. Gagigo, I just want you to set a record because a lot of people are watching you. And I wanted to ask you this question because someone raised it. Says Dr. Gagigo's rhetoric doesn't match his record because Dr. Gagigo applied for projects through Ministry of Agriculture. The project's name is Giraffe and Roots. He was given a lot of money, but he didn't do the project to help the local women. And you have the opportunity to set the record straight. Is this true?
False. First of all, I have a non-profit. I know the guy who put that there, by the way, is Ahmad Jite. By the way, you should need to make that clear who that individual is. Yeah. By the way, we all know it's not just your average Gambian. I saw that. First of all, he got his facts wrong. First of all, I have the project that I have a separate philanthropic project where I help women gardens. There is not a single butut of Gambian government money in that. No a single butut from Roots, not a single butut from Giraffe. So let me set the record straight. And we have helped dozens of gardens. Even today, I just came, and nobody has to take my word for it. You can visit those gardens. The project that I used to help women garden, not a single butut from any project, Roots or Giraffe, not a single butut from the government. These are projects I started, and I approached sometimes some colleagues of mine who I've worked with at the World Bank and ADB. They will contribute, but not a single butut from the government or government finance project. The issue of yes. The other
so basically it's not true. Right? Basically it's not true. Right?
Exactly. So let me talk about
you haven't gotten millions or $1 or $2 from the Ministry of Agriculture.
No, let me clarify this. I have a garden, a premier called Premier Green, that has applied for a grant matching scheme from Giraffe. that got it. Like many other projects, you are supposed to, you get funding, you get a grant, you match it. That one, government wasn't even involved. It's the World Bank project. It came into the country. There was no budget from the government. My farm applied just like any other farm. We got a grant. We applied. The grant was given, and then we invested as it should. Giraffe came.
That was through the Ministry of Agriculture.
Yes, that is a private grant matching scheme.
Right.
It's managed by Department of Agriculture.
Agriculture, yeah. I mean, I just want to.
But it's an ADB grant.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. I mean, just like, I mean, basically.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
World Bank
over 100.
funding.
Exactly.
Right.
But I want to say this is separate from. I also have a non-profit foundation.
Correct.
That helps women garden. That part does not get a single money from either government or any grant or any donor project.
Right. I got it. Yeah. So Dr. Gagigo, I really want to go back to the realities of our politics, because somebody listening to you, even if we go back to 2021, one would think that Barrow was re-elected because somehow the political parties, whether it's the United Democratic Party or DOI or GDC, they failed to articulate what the problems were. Because when I listen to you, I mean, I hear the parties say those things. Somebody like me, I'm thinking, Barrow was not defeated in 2021. It has nothing to do with issues. Most people would believe that it has a lot to do with wedge issues that were utilized, tribal politics that were utilized, patronage that was utilized. And what makes you think that if Dr. Gagigo runs in 2026 and they use those same wedge issues, in as much as UDP was talking about policies, what they intend to do, Doi, what you are saying now, I've heard them say it for the past 40 years, talking about the imbalance, talking about the reason why we are not doing our rice production in the country, everything we import. We've all heard that. There's not a single voter that haven't heard that story. But somehow they ignored it and they kind of vote for the incumbent based on these issues that I'm talking about. Tribal, patronage, the hype. Why do you think you will be any different?
Now, good point. It is indeed true. The patronage thing, as we've already seen indication that it's going to happen just like it happened in 2021. NPP announcing that they raised, what was it, 20 million in Spain?
200,000 euros. Yeah, something like that. Over 200,000 euros.
200,000. How that is, I have no clue. But yeah, they've already given out. So yeah, absolutely, you are. Whatever has been done in 2021, I expect it to be done again in 2026. Basically, this is the way I look at it. The government, the current incumbent, will basically go back to its, its book. Whatever it did before, it worked before, we'll do it again. Couple of things are different. I believe these past 5 years were quite different from the 5 years preceding the other elections. Many people in many communities that voted overwhelmingly for NPP. For people who actually have been to those communities, try to understand what they've gone through. Try to understand what they are actually, the problems they are facing. I believe people are primed for a change. You can talk about the same issue, but I think there's a difference about talking about our problems and presenting the people with a viable and a credible alternative. listen, I'm not putting a blame here. I'm not putting a blame here on
the parties,
on Doi. I have nothing but respect for people like Doi, the leadership of that party. I mean, if you want to talk about, I think any Gambian here, if you have been honest with yourself, people like Khalifa, people like Sidia was a classmate of my father, I think, at the college. People like that. You have nothing. One should have nothing but respect for people like that. They have done their best. Obviously, right now, even by 2021. I think it's unfair to really put the loss of Doi on Khalifa because at that age and all the things the fight they've done over the decades, as far as I'm concerned, my issue here is not so much with the existing parties. I can obviously go and list some of the things I think they could do differently, but at this point, I'm not sure it's that productive going into details about all the things they did wrongly. Whatever those opposition parties did wrongly, it's nothing close to what the incumbent has done. My attention, I want to be focused on all of the things that the incumbent has done wrongly, and basically point out my understanding of how those my diagnosis of the problem and present the plan I have, the plan our party has, our partners, because here this is not a one man thing. I'm speaking here, I'm saying I because I am addressing you guys, but it's not a one man thing, just to clarify.
Absolutely.
So basically, these things here, it's we are in a different time period. Circumstances have changed. And I think, like I said, the understanding of the issues, the credible solutions will bring to bear on those issues. That is something that I have no doubt this party that I'm bringing into existence, me and others are bringing into existence. People will see the difference. Now, some may ask, if you are registering a party, you must have a constitution and a and a manifesto. Why is it not out? So I'm not presenting these things out for legal reasons. Like you said, you are only a political party. When IEC formally face you. So right now, if I start to basically start bringing all our campaign materials under the name of the party, it will be contravention to our existing electoral laws. Yes. So, but make no doubt about that. These things are all ready to be released to the Gambian people.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Not only the manifesto, but addressing every sector in the country.
So, Dr. Gagigo, I know if I were to listen to the Minister of Information, and I always hear him say these things, that, look, going all the way back to 1965, when we had independence, and we went through 20 years of dictatorship, we inherited a very bad system. And all you have to do is look at where we were back in 2015 and where we are now. He would argue, look at in terms of governance, look at in terms of democracy, independent judiciary. So basically saying, look, what our government have done, they've created something totally different. And we're in a process. They will say, even in the area of agriculture, there are things that we're putting in place. It takes time before we see the results. They will say, look at what we are investing in education, whether it's tertiary. They will say, there are a lot of things in the pipeline. And for these people to come and say we haven't done anything, they've been disingenuous. There are a lot of things that we have done. That when they poo-poo against this infrastructure that we're putting in place, you can't build an economy without building roads and infrastructure. What do you say to that, Dr. Gagigo?
Well, it would be child's play to basically, knock all of those points down. Agriculture, I don't want to really basically repeat myself, but I think what I've said about agriculture here, it suffices to show that here, let me give another concrete example. If you go to the Jahali today, there are many parts of Jahali where you cannot grow rice in the rainy season. This is a place where you could grow rice in the dry season and rainy season. But today, in Jahali, there are parts there where you cannot grow rice. In the rainy season. Just think about that. This is a country where rice is our staple.
Correct.
In 2017, in the first year this government came, they got millions of dollars from the ADB to do that rice irrigation, rice value chain project. Several projects, several localities were selected. Limbambulu was there, Damfakunda was there, Sankulekunda and other communities. That project has been disastrously executed. Like I said, in some communities today, they are cultivating less rice than they did during not only in Jawara's eras, but in Jammeh's era. Let me give another concrete example to put to rest any notion that things are improving. The amount of rice we were producing annually during the Jawara regime was about 120,000 tons per year. During Jammeh's regime, we were producing over 90,000 tons on average per annum. Do you know how much we are producing right now?
No.
In terms of amount of rice?
No.
Less than 50,000 tons per annum.
So doing
we are producing less than half of the amount of groundnut that we are producing on the Jammeh. This is our main cash crop. We are still importing 90% of the rice that we consume in this country when we have enough arable land to be self-sufficient in rice and also even in export rice. The vast majority of the women garden in the country, again, they either have problems of inputs or they have no water or fence, despite many years of projects. Basically, all of if you talk to individual farmers, you go to any of these villages, the only thing the government does is only about distributing fertilizer at the beginning of rainy season and buying groundnut at the end. But even those basic activities, they cannot do right. The fertilizer arrives late. The groundnut, most villages got their groundnut money around May, almost 5 months after the harvest. Let's talk about energy. Nothing is more important than energy when you talk about a growing economy. This government had a goal of achieving universal electricity supply by 2025. We are at the end of 2025. We are very far from it. In fact, we have moved back. We used to have 100% 100 megawatts of generation capacity in the Gambia. Currently, we are significantly less than that. This government actually took us back. Between 2017 and last year, we were buying electricity from Car Power Ship. You know how much we were paying each single year? Car Power Ship was supplying the country only 30 megawatts. We were paying over $30 million per annum.
Wow. Over
that 7-year period, we spent over $200 million buying electricity from a floating ship. If we had used that money to build electricity generators in the country, today we will not be importing a single kilowatt of power. We will actually be in a position to export it. So in terms of electricity, energy, which is fundamental to any modern economy, this government has actually taken us back. If you look at the roads that they are so proud of, yes, additional roads have been constructed, but ask yourself, how much was spent per kilometer compared to similar roads in other countries? And as the auditor has found out recently, how many hundreds of millions have been lost during contracting? This is from the National Audit Office, not some opposition guy saying something, from the auditor's office.
Correct.
You could talk about this. I could spend the whole evening talking about every single sector. This government doesn't have a leg to stand on if they want to point to any particular sector that they have developed. They have no leg to stand on whatsoever. They have failed the Gambian people. They have wasted resources. The goodwill that we had immediately after the end of the dictatorship, the goodwill that we had from international development partners has all evaporated. In the recent joint IMF Ministry of Finance press conference, the IMF mission chief made a point of saying that the government made a commitment to take an anti-corruption bill to the National Assembly. The IMF would only make a point of making that statement at a press conference if they would only make that if they are absolutely convinced corruption is at a level where it is completely beyond control. Because they know that without any attempt at addressing corruption, nothing will go on. IMF will rarely talk about that sort of issue in visiting a country. So that's why when government is dealing with international partners, it is important to read between the lines. The only thing, just because of diplomatic niceties and protocols, the IMF cannot put things so bluntly. So to answer your question, this government has failed woefully. They have not implemented and done anything in the country. They have nothing to be proud of. They don't have a track record. The job here for me and all the opposition has been made easy. Now we have a responsibility. Everyone you pick on the street can tell you what the problems are. That's not the problem. The key here now is the credibility that comes from diagnosing the problem and devising a solution that's relevant to the problems that we are facing. That is our responsibility. And we need to come and convince the Gambian people. If me and other opposition parties are not elected and Jammeh is re-elected, that is not a failure of the Gambian electorate. It's the failure of us to convince the Gambian people that change is needed and we are the agents of that change. That responsibility falls on us. I'm not going to blame the Gambian people. I will repeat this. You won't hear me talking about Gambian people were bored. We know that thing happens. As an opposition, we need to be ready to fight with the battlefield as it is. In this battlefield, everything the incumbent can do, they will do with it. They'll do every dirty tactics. They will use tribalism. They'll use patronage. Whatever they've done, they will do it. So that cannot be an excuse for us. Correct. It is not an excuse. If we are serious and we are dedicated in what we are planning on doing, we should go into the battle with our eyes open, knowing that the playing field is not level.
Correct.
If we believe that the only way to beat Barrow is on a level playing field, then we are not ready. And you will not hear me complain about patronage. You will not hear me complain about tribal politics. I know it will happen. I take it as a given.
Correct. Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes.
Was the 2021 election stolen?
No.
No. Brother Marong.
So I will elaborate a bit more.
Go ahead.
Do I believe that some wrongdoings happen? Absolutely. Do I believe that the wrongdoings explain the election results? No. I believe the gap is too big for wrongdoing to explain all that gap, the margin of victory. I believe that if there was actually some, massive corruption, the evidence would be there for everyone to see, not just for one party to have the evidence. The evidence will be there for everyone to see. So I'm not saying that nothing wrong happened.
Correct.
I am sure, but as far as I'm concerned, the election reflected the will of the people.
The elections reflected the will of the Gambian people. Brother Marong.
I know many people probably regret their choice. And I believe if given the choice, they'll correct it. And we will give them that option.
That's an honest answer, Dr. Gagigo. Brother Marong.
Dr. Gagigo, thank you very much for that marathon answer. You know, for our brother man here, Musa Yang, it's always a complex dichotomy. Telling people to join a movement. He's very excited about the movement and the future of the Gambia. But again, it's the same man who sits and say, okay, maybe agriculture they did more. But I think I'm gonna take you on that furthermore, because I really think the utopism, the difference between idealism and fantasy, we need to kind of set the record straight and lay out a compelling vision where we want to take this country forward. And we cannot do that without folks from you who came from the wilderness and wants to add your voice to take the country in a different total trajectory. So bear with us. Musa will always model these things. And I found that quite fascinating. But my question to you here is, in terms of, he talks about democracy. I think Gambian people fought for democracy. I think people stood up, people died, and people paid the ultimate price. And he was part of that. And in terms of all these development, in terms of energy, what would be your vision in terms of...
Sorry, there was an echo there.
Say it again.
No, I'm hearing another sound in addition to yours. It's
really...
Now I'm not hearing it. Go ahead, please.
Okay. So, but you heard my whole spin about utopianism and dichotomy of our good brother here presenting a future about the future, and also say, pretty much juxtaposing with, what the government did, so on, so on. So, but I think your rebuttals were spot on.
What Caesar would say, not me. What he
who would say that?
I say what Dr. Caesar would say. That's how I premise the question.
Oh, okay. But you didn't mention Dr. Caesar at the beginning.
I said the information minister.
Okay. He did say Minister of Information, yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I think we have to. I love Dr. Caesar, but we have to, distinct utopianism, ideal versus fantasy. We all know what's going on, and not the emergence of all these political parties doesn't come out of a vacuum. There was something that was intriguing and that was pushing everyone to form a political party. But Dr. Gagigo, in terms of energy, what do you think, we could do differently? You talk about imports, and we all know, this is your area, the economy. We've seen our currency devalue because basically we're not exporting, we're only importing. Our dollar has devalued because it has not been used, at the global market. I mean, we go fight for, foreign currencies to do our goods and exchanges at the market. But what would you be your vision in terms of investing into that sector? And also
energy. Investing in energy, yeah. No, I think the solution in the energy sector is straightforward. Listen, let me give an analogy here. If you want to make sure a town has enough water, where every household has enough water, you're not going to drill one tiny borehole and then, put a pipe in every compound. Most people will only get a drop of water. The key problem we have in the Gambia is that we don't have generation capacity. The amount of energy that we are producing right now is very little. There hasn't been any construction of a new power plant, a single power plant since this government came into power. It's all about transmission lines. They are putting transmission lines and distribution lines in communities, particularly in the run-up to this election, all as part of a campaign ploy, basically promising people, if you vote in Adama Barrow, you'll have electricity. But if you are connecting every household, and you're not generating any power, electricity, people will just have wires running through their house. If they are lucky, few hours of electricity per week. There are villages I visit right now that are up country. They have electricity running through households, but you have power outages every single day, just like in the combos. So given our size here right now, given the fact that our generation capacity is less than 100 megawatts, that's one of the lowest on the continent. Our energy consumption per capita, again, is one of the lowest. Ours is a fraction of the energy consumption in Senegal in terms of number of kilowatt hours per individual or per household. The problem here is, the other issue obviously is you have this issue of lot of distribution and transmission losses. Again, that's one of the highest in Africa. Some of them are technical losses from the transmission line. Others are just due to corruption. I looked at the audit reports in NAWEC from 2017 to 2021. The amount that the auditors have found that has been embezzled and lost over that short period, 2017 and 2021, is over $1 billion in NAWEC alone. So the solution here, in terms of addressing the energy problems in the Gambia here, number one is we need to build power plants, and we have the means. I just told you that the Gambia government spent over $200 million paying the Turkish company to supply us with 30 megawatts. When the contract was ended, the ship went away. 200 million down the drain. If you use that 200 million to build a power plant, you will build a power plant of 200 megawatts. 200 megawatts power plant, the amount of gigawatts that will produce will be able to produce all of the roughly 400,000 households we have in the country. And you will have excess power that you could even sell to another countries. So right now, the fact that we have energy problem shortage is unacceptable. It shouldn't have happened. And we are talking about an energy problem that you don't even need assistance from ADB or from the World Bank. To build a 100 megawatt power plant today, you need about $100 million. The amount we spend on our embassies, we've opened a lot of useless embassies. We spend $2 billion per year on recurrent expenditures on embassies. A fraction of that over a 5-year period will be able to build you a power plant that can generate, that has a generation capacity of 100 megawatts, that can address our energy needs. And unless and until you address our energy needs, where we have reliable and affordable energy, you are not going to get any foreign investor coming in to start any factory in the Gambia. Gambians that have the capacity to start factories, we look at other businesses. The energy problem here is first addressing the issue of capacity. A major reform at NAWEC, decoupling the electricity from the water provision and sanitation. Later on, once we have enough base load, invest in renewable energy, which we have abundant resources for, both wind and solar. And when you address this energy problem, I'm not just talking about electricity, just when we talk about energy, even a woman cooking food is using energy. Charcoal and firewood is energy. But do we want a Gambia today that where even women in Banjul, everywhere in our most urban areas, they are still using firewood and charcoal? Are we going forward if we still have a country like that?
No.
The reason why people are not using gas or electricity, because they're enormously expensive. Gas prices per bottle, per kilograms are twice that of in Senegal. Simple, again, there's a simple explanation for that. Cooking gas. Why? Because we have a very limited storage capacity in the Gambia to store gas. And therefore, gas cannot be bought on a large scale so that importers benefit from economies of scale. Because we have only storage a small storage capacity here. When gas is imported in small quantities, and therefore the price per unit is high. So people are still using charcoal. People are still using firewood, which is having terrible environmental effects. So the energy problem can be solved. The solutions are easy. You need to have leaders that have an understanding of this problem. I have worked on energy projects, electricity projects across many African countries. I have experience in these things, in not only things that governments are doing, but independent power producers, because I've worked on projects where international institutions have financed those, and they are joint projects, where you have independent power producers, you also have private sector, you have government involved. So the understanding of the sector is very important. You don't want a leader coming in who is going to learn things from people who have created the problem. If you bring a leader today in the country who has no experience in energy problems, who are they going to ask?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Gagigo. So Dr. Gagigo, I listened to you telegraphing the problem, especially for the energy. And I think, we need to be innovative and creative in terms of our energy sector. But right now, our main source of generation is outdated generators, whereby even if the parts broke, they have to customize it and order it. And usually there is a lag time before those things gets into the country. And also, government really investing into heavy fuel to get those generators to capacity. And obviously there is a load shedding every single day. That's why some parts of the country needs to be dim off and some needs to be on, because our generation capacity cannot hold these, generation, and we don't have any reserve capabilities as well. So thinking about that, what would you think would be an alternative to this, in terms of, you said government shutting down embassy, but that wouldn't be also enough. Now there is PPIPPs, which is independent power producers, which I think there is a solar plant that is in Jambur. I don't know what the capacity is. It 20 or 15 megawatts, but that is a minuscule, that's a minuscule of what they can produce. So I think thinking about it, what would be your approach in terms of attracting independent power producers, but at the same time innovation and creating technologies that would harness, bringing costs down in terms of the governance structure? Because right now NAWEC is in charge of electricity and water, but I think we need to have some type of governance structure where it is distinct between water production and electricity. And also, I also believe that power and transmission needs to be independent of each other. So you have to draw these clear distinctions. What would be your approach in terms of restructuring these and also put it into something that is very meaningful? Because obviously energy is a big factor, as you already said. It attracts investors. We don't produce much. I don't think we can produce much because with the current status quo. But what would be your policy in terms of addressing these energy, nationwide?
No, I mean, I think you definitely you grasp the sector very well. I mean, as I said, I think the big there are a lot of issues here. Issues of governance, like the structure of NAWEC and others. We probably don't need to talk about go into those minute details. But the key problem here is, at a fundamental level, unless you have sufficient electricity being generated, you can't have energy being used for other things. So we need to address that generation problem at a fundamental level. So you ask a very relevant question with regards to that, which is, how do you attract IPP? So government obviously can finance new generators, but as anyone knows, these things now, it's much better to have some sort of independent power producers producing electricity, selling it to the the national utility company that then transmits and distributes to businesses and households. So the issue here, first of all, is how do we improve our business enabling environment? How do we improve our investment climate so that any investor coming in, making such a long-term, risky investment, they feel comfortable enough. They feel comfortable enough to put millions of dollars at stake over several decades. Most power purchase agreements in the world that I've worked on, many projects that I've worked on, these power purchase agreements are in decades. Some would be, if it is short, 15 years, some of them even 20 years. Some power purchase agreement could be even longer than that. An energy project like a power plant is a capital intensive project that is very expensive. As I said, typically for a thermal power plant is one megawatt will cost you about 1 million. So if you want to build a 100 megawatt power plant, that's going to require an investment of at least $100 million. And if you build that power plant, should a problem occur in that country, you cannot uproot the power plant, take it to another country. You are stuck with it. So any investor that's going to put money in such an expensive, investment and such a high risk investment, where there is very little, there's almost no chance of moving if things go wrong, and they need to be confident that if they have an agreement, a power purchase agreement where they supply the national utility company, they need to be absolutely certain that that utility company would have the means to pay them the agreed amount consistently, regularly over a period of a couple of decades. That is a big ask.
Thank you. Faramos, go ahead.
Yeah, so just to complete, that is a big ask. So how do you make somebody comfortable to do that? You need to have a new government in there. People need to have confidence in the government that they are implementing economic reforms. They are having the right people in the right sectors so that the entities that they are dealing with are credible, are competent, that they are not taking unnecessary risk, and the risk that they are taking, they are mitigated to some extent. So it is this confidence, and this is basically related to the issue of Gambians. You talk to many Gambians who are in the diaspora who want to come and do business, but they are hesitating. Why? It's the same reason, because of the lack of confidence in the government. If Gambian citizens are having that hesitation to come and invest in their own country, what do you think? How much chance do we have for a foreigner with no attachment to the country, to take such a risk?
So, Dr. Gagigo, I want to quote a famous philosopher called President Adama Barrow. And his usual saying is that it's not easy like that day. And there are a lot of things that you're saying that I'm sure he would be giving you that it's not easy like that. You said, for instance, for somebody to be an effective, let's say, for instance, the energy crisis you use as an example, you need somebody either who is an expert or who understands it. Someone listens to you and said, you know what? Leadership has nothing to do with having all the answers in every sector. It's not even possible. You cannot be an expert in agriculture. You cannot be an expert in energy. You cannot be an expert in education, in health. That cannot happen. What you need is leadership would be getting things done through other people. So when you said to fix the energy problem, you really need somebody who understands it. I mean, did you misspeak, or is it just you were just saying something else?
No. What I mean, somebody who understands the importance of energy to the country. You don't need to be. Let me clarify. Mm-hmm. Your point is very important. It is unrealistic to have a leader who is going to be an expert in every sector. It is unrealistic. Nobody should have that expectation. And I don't think anyone is holding Adama Barrow to such an unrealistic standard. Mm-hmm. But you see certain things happening in the government that tells you that basically even asking the right question, a leader just needs to be able to ask the right questions.
Correct.
You ask the right questions, you appoint the right individuals. Now, agriculture, we all know, is a very important sector.
Absolutely.
You don't have to appoint a farmer, somebody who's a professional farmer, but you just need to be able to have somebody who's a good manager, who has some interest in that sector, some basic understanding. Those Dembasabali meet that criteria. If you have a basic understanding, I'm not even presenting myself as an energy expert. I've never told anybody I'm an energy expert. I've worked on energy projects in international organizations. But I will tell you, anyone I have spoken to in any part of the world, in any institution, they will tell you, having a power purchase agreement with Car Powership, where that company is selling us 30 megawatts and we are paying over $30 million per annum every single year for 7 years. And these power purchase agreements are only 2-year periods. That is the biggest, self-shooting in the foot that I've ever seen. And I'm being very diplomatic with that. I wanted to use a different kind of phrase that I can't use.
Yeah.
So the issue here is you don't have to be a professional farmer to understand the agricultural sector. I speak to many people every day who have a very good understanding of the problems we face in the agricultural sector who don't own a farm. The same thing in health, the same thing in education, the same thing in fisheries. You don't have to be a fisherman to understand that the issues we are facing in the fisheries sector can be addressed in a certain way. And the problems that we are having can be avoided. So a leader here, you need, first of all, have the capacity to appoint the right people.
Correct.
You delegate the responsibility to them and hold them accountable. What we are seeing in the current regime is complete lack of accountability. How many ministers have been implicated in corruption here and they are still holding their ministerial post? So there's zero accountability. You don't have to be an expert in every sector. You just need to understand what are the big problems the country is facing in that area. The people you appoint there, you appoint them on the basis of capacity. Those are the experts in that area. But you hold them accountable for delivery on what those sectors need to deliver for the Gambian people. This is the key.
Dr. Gagigo, staying with energy. At this juncture, NAWEC is all over the provinces, in every little village, in every little hamlet. Gange taxawal pôle yi suma mbokki fana fana ñu ne courant baa ngi dikk de gis nga pôle bi fi mu ne in every little hamlet. And before you know it, there will be switch on and there will be electricity. My hometown of Kaur, I grew up. I remember there was no such thing. And I'm just being realistic here. How the average voter is going to see some of these things. And as we get to 2026, you can call NAWEC. They're fast forwarding. They're putting poles. They're making sure that every town and village has electricity. And here you have Dr. Gagigo coming there and saying, we have a problem with capacity, we delegate, and you are intellectualizing. And they're like, what are you talking about? Ñun xamuñ woon courant fi mu ne ñu ngi am courant. Ñun xamuñ woon ndox fi mu ne ñu ngi am ndox. Is that all you got before 2026, sir? Tell me something more.
No, it's you make a very good point. Again, you can go to villages far smaller than Kau, and you'll see electric poles going there. Yeah, and we all know this is all for politics because we don't have the electricity that will supply all of these areas. Currently, the villages that actually have electricity, sometimes they go for a week. There have been some communities that went for a whole week without power. I go to the upcountry all the time. The point here, I said, when the message to the Gambian people is not going to be only on one particular issue at a time.
Correct.
There are other things that are of even more immediate priority to your average Gambian, upcountry or in urban areas, that is even more urgent than electricity. Because in order to use electricity, you actually have to, you have to have food on the table. In order to walk on the road that may come to your village, if you don't have a full stomach, you won't have trouble. That road will actually be may actually be worse. It's like a means to escape when you can't even escape. So the discussion will not be isolated issues here. The challenge that we have as people challenging the incumbent is not going to talk about these issues in isolation. Having electricity, if you didn't have one, it's an improvement, no doubt about that. But that is not the only thing people are facing. At the same moment that some of those communities are getting those wires being brought in, some of them still have basic problems of access to basic drinking water. Some of them, when they harvest their groundnut, they are not getting water. Some of them, when their women go to the garden, they don't have a garden that has a fence. They don't have a garden that has enough water. When they go to the health clinic next to them, if it is close enough, they'll go there with no medicine. The issue of our standard of living and our development is all of this together in a holistic way. So the key here is one is not going to talk about a particular issue in isolation or over intellectualize it or over analyze it. You don't need to. It is the whole standard of living. The thing that people, the day-to-day lived experience, that you speak to people based on that. And it is not difficult to do that when you get a chance, when you mingle with people, when you visit these communities, when you understand their problem. You will not know how to talk to these people if you are a politician who only goes there once every 5 years. And that is the problem that some politicians will have. They will not know how to talk about those problems because you just wait, the last time you were in parts of Salum or parts of Nyamina is 5 years ago. Of course, you will go and talk about these problems in an individual way that's not connected to people's lives. But if you take these issues seriously, you understand what people are going through, you talk to them, you visit them regularly. Despite these new roads coming in that Barrow may have put in for political reasons, despite this new electricity connection that he may have done, you will be able to talk to people in a way that addresses the problems they face.
Brother Marong.
Yeah, Dr. Gagigo, thank you very much. Dr. Gagigo, I just kind of wanted to follow up on that question. It's not only about erecting poles and putting transmission lines. My question to you was, is that electricity that is supplying rural Gambia, is that produced by NAWEC or that is outsourced? And if it's outsourced, how much does it cost Gambian taxpayers?
That's a very good point. Significant amount. Significant. Senegal, a lot of that, we're getting 50 megawatts from Senegal of electricity capacity. And what we have is less than 100. So what that tells you right now, majority of the electricity that is being supplied to Gambians is actually being imported. Senegal is producing electricity. Do you think they are going to sell us electricity at cost of production? No. Senegal, the electricity that Senegal is actually getting, a lot of it is coming from IPP, independent power producers. So they will try to make some money out of that. So the electricity, the poles that are being provided, this is something that the Gambian people need to know. First of all, it's not enough. Number two, it is being imported. Number three, it is there will be an extra amount added there for some margin of income for them. And let's not forget, Senegal right now is growing. Anybody who drives, from our border to Dakar, you drive through all of those industrial zones around the airport. You see a lot of industrial activities, a lot of factories going up. Factories demand a lot of energy. There will come a time when Senegal will actually need that energy for themselves. Even if we are willing to pay a high amount, Senegal will not starve their industries of energy and supply us. You all remember a few months ago that Senegalese government restricted their supply of basalt.
Yes.
Why? Because they needed it locally. And there may in fact be a time where all of these other things we import from Senegal, might in fact be restricted. So why would you continue? Why would you have an energy policy that is dependent on importation of energy? Something so critical that is important for national sovereignty, when you have the option of having new power plants being built into the country that are efficient, where the cost of generation will be lowered, and that lower cost of generation can be passed on to end users. So we basically, there is a way to approach the energy problem we have in this country. This government is basically doing the complete opposite of it.
So Gagigo, I'm gonna say this in my nigga, man. so it can mean for all of me the puru model mean be sandol. It can mean electricity means regie. Lafta pura kwai. Bao yalon sometimes mbe polo lokane mbe kurang samba kang alla tundola. Ni ajibe o kurang fon. Gambia la nawek me muy tolla electricity power station odi amanke ko wala ko dedade ika sang na nebol lebul mu Senegal pour ka sanna sain pour ay koy mo lay koy Gambia no bela ko wo electricity aka itolu mol minia lon ko Gambia no ake kodo jellam nangamo ikela kodol min jo ila namolu jellam ano ngalon ko wato do fon bije Gambia man sakunda ma jono so bari alo nyum kuma nyanta ka koy bawo mbe molu hakilo wiri wande kambe mol faham ya kandikan bari laftal pour wokuo fane fanan safo pour mol ya moy ndata safo no mande kay safo no surwa kan pour mol ya moy don puy sanyo so hakilo
no yemi fo wolem to nyaade nyum kraw min mina kan de lanyim banko ka jama mimbije soko milbe North Bank region milbe URR wo kurango be ka bonan Senegal adun ka minjo wo kurango to wala siyara Senegalese ka minjo wala kurango to because kurango ne kurango da yaada da Senegal ba dum de kan na Gambia golbo wa fikantel ma fo e fendo soto jeko wo kola ko on telephone nyanda ko do min dundi je pour ko kurango sang namman sukunda ko mo do ko do fa dundi kanje so ñil fama la kodo bentel la min ta dafo karinani majo Senegal la ko ila julomi bentel waddo si data fo karinani Senegal si wul no le luntilindo yo krongo be kuntu so e kanyim firo mil be dundi mol la sa do kon nkana ciki la baket because kro min betala be dunna o kono o mantran de la banko ko sekunda ya ko rosot le pour ka generator dada ka lundi na banko kam pour ka o kro dada bari manso wala itunta ko do la ya be pajari itata bidum e ko bita sanna Senegal baro ko do min fo nyanta kala ka kro san Senegal e mo ko do fo dundi je wala julo bentel la karinani ila julo mo la karinani no lo bi ko ite sulata min na bulwa be o kuntula ite o blame la ngajele naweke modol soto ja mimbe comment la bake ayato sa feje yaksina amman son na to fa on kela je ngalo nawek le o kinanje somebody commenting here trying to defend nawek unfortunately that's always the case when someone is talking about you have somebody there who wouldn't come there and who wouldn't come there and talk openly and defend. They hide behind a pseudonym.
I think, Dr. Gagigo, this is very, very important. If we're saying that electricity is not sufficient, we have to break it down to for folks to understand at the level what is costing us. And I think that's a stark difference on how we look forward and fix these problems. But there is another question that I wanted to ask you. You said it earlier. You said ground production. Jambe, we were Jambe during Jawara's time. he produced more groundnuts
No,
than
he said rice, I think.
rice. Okay,
Both
so
rice and
rice,
groundnut.
Both rice.
rice, groundnut, whatever. So whatever. So the thing is, now today, these sectors are dormant or non-existent. What would be your solution to fix this, or at least to resuscitate the revival of that sector? First, it creates job opportunities for Gambians, but also Gambians will have something that they produce, and that creates opportunity for, export opportunities and all that stuff. So what would be your solution to that?
Well, let me say, first of all, in our manifesto, the number one item is food security. And when you talk about food security, agriculture. But just to reiterate what you said, it's not only rice. Rice productivity, just has been going down. It's also groundnut production. So our staple and our main cash crop, they have deteriorated. So right now, the average groundnut production under Adama Barrow is less than half of what it was under Yaya Jammeh. And we all know why. The inputs that farmers are supposed to get, they don't get it. Once they produce the groundnut, and after the government threatened them, you cannot market your groundnut anywhere else, the government cannot pay them. The past couple of years, there are villages in many parts of the Gambia that wait until May before they get their money. So the agricultural problem here that we have is the whole value chain, from land administration all the way to processing or consumption of agricultural produce. We have problems along every segment of the value chain. Land is a big issue. Do you know there are communities that are fighting over land, and the land is there lying dormant, and nobody is farming those land? We have many of those such problems in the Gambia, and the government is behaving as if it has nothing to do with them. We have private investors in the Gambia in agriculture, who would like to invest in agricultural production, yet they have issues of accessing land. When you come to, anybody will tell you, when it comes to rice cultivation, having the right amount of, the right type and quality of seed, the right type of fertilizer, these are one of the key ingredients of productivity and yield. We have input problems, whether it's groundnut, whether it's rice, whether it's maize or anything. When you look at the agricultural productivity of maize, of groundnut, of rice, of millet, of sorghum, all the major crops in the Gambia, Gambia's average is less than the African average. And the trajectory is in the wrong direction. It's not like things are improving, they are getting worse over time. But we know how to address the issue of seeds, issue of fertilizer. The other big problem we have in the Gambia is irrigation. But how can a country like Gambia have an irrigation problem when you have a river running through the whole length of the country, where the water table can be reached in 10 meters or less in some places, where rainwater can be harvested? Yet in the Gambia, the biggest determinant of yield is rainfall. So in addressing, first of all, you have to understand the scale of the problem we have in agriculture. And then you find out where the constraints are. And it's in these areas of land administration, in inputs like seeds and fertilizer, in irrigation. Unless you address those and bring right yield. Let me give you an idea of what currently we import 90% of the rice we consume. We only use 15% of our, basically we only use 15% of our arable land. If you use Senegal's productivity in Gambia today, the amount of rice that we will actually produce as opposed to input, we will increase that by over 4 times. more than half of the rice we consume will be able to produce if we have Senegal's level of productivity. Just to put that in perspective, without changing anything else. So in our agricultural sector, there is no reinvention of the wheel here. You, the president, the leader of the country, needs to understand what the problems are, be serious about addressing it, put there somebody in the Ministry of Agriculture who is competent, hold him or her accountable. Once you have that, the agricultural problem in the Gambia is eminently solvable. I have worked in agriculture, in agricultural projects in many parts of the world with many other institutions. These things I'm talking about that are possible, these are not, hypotheticals. These are things that are happening, that have happened. I've been involved in rice projects in Senegal, where the yields have reached 6 tons per hectare. In the Gambia, our average yield over the past 5 years is less than 1 ton per hectare. We have the same agroecological environment as Senegal. What is our excuse? The only difference here is the leadership. Because Gambian workers, if you go to our villages, our farmers are just as hardworking as the ones in Senegal. So the president or the leader of the country needs to know enough to hold the officials there accountable.
Mm-hmm. So, Dr. Gagigo, come 20 elections are going to be held December 5th. December 6th results will be announced. And if it happens to be Dr. Gagigo, the new president of the Gambia, you're going to inherit a problem like people before you. You're going to inherit a revenue flow called GLF funding, $25 billion. You're talking about a country that relies on very poor taxpayers, not to mention development. Where is it coming? You're going to inherit a debt structure. It's going to be a problem now. It cannot be anybody's problem, just like this current government. They inherited some of these loans that they have to deal with, some of these services that has to be paid. How are you going to approach that? We are a very poor country. You're talking about a lot of things in the billions. Where is the money going to come from? How are you going to fund some of these nice projects you're talking about? Most of the GFL funding goes to recurrent expenses. You look at the budget every year, we don't invest a whole lot in development because it ain't there. How are you going to approach it, Dr. Gagigo?
Where I disagree with you is to say the money is not there. No. The problem here is not a problem of revenue. The problem that we have in the government right now, especially in this borough government, is a problem of expenditures that are not prioritized.
Mm-hmm.
You can take the same amount of money, use it poorly, but use slightly differently, you can get very good results.
Mm-hmm.
As you rightly pointed out, our revenue is almost all recurrent expenditures. But is anyone going to seriously tell me that the recurrent, the money we are putting in all the recurrent expenditures are equally as important as the development expenditures we are not financing?
Mm-hmm.
The money that is allocated each single year to the State House, compare that to other sectors. The point here is that we don't have a problem of revenue. Mm-hmm. Yes, we are a poor country. As the audit reports have just found, and this is just a tip of the iceberg.
Mm-hmm.
Audit reports a few years, and I've told you, like, looking at NAWEC's, just NAWEC, one state-owned enterprise, between 2017 and 2021, over $1 billion wasted. This is just one state-owned enterprise. But the audit reports in 3 years found how many billion? The amount of waste in this government when you have a when you have an incompetent administration, is staggering. It's not a question of resources that we have, whether it's enough or not. Yes, we are a poor country. It would be great if we have a lot more budget to work with than we have, obviously. But even with this amount of budget, if you prioritize it, you first have to make an understanding of what are the major problems facing your sector. You make sure that those are prioritized in the budget. Why do we need all these V8 vehicles running up and down on the road that every single month they are consuming tens of thousands? Why does a government official need a V8 vehicle for? If you can afford it, buy on your own, go and buy it. Why should a government be the amount of money we are wasting on fuel allowance alone? The $2 billion that has been spent wasted on many useless embassies.
Correct.
If you take a fraction of that, you put that in agriculture, the results you'll have there will be unbelievable. In Washington, D.C., we have a U.S. embassy in the U.S. We have a Gambian embassy in Washington, D.C. We have a UN mission in New York. For a poor country, do we need both? Can't we have one office doing both?
Absolutely.
And cut, the amount you'll be saving, that you can build a whole health center in a whole district in the Gambia. You could say the same thing about many different sectors. It's all about, the key here is prioritizing our expenditures. The same expenditure, you can have it, but if you prioritize it very well, the development impact will be enormous. This is the key here. It's not because the problem in the Gambia is not because the revenue is small. And in fact, when you do this prioritization, the reason why we are spending about a third of our budget on debt financing is because each year these expenditures are being done in a non-prioritized way, and they are adding to our cost. Let me give you a specific example. The OIC road, the site construction of it, the government took a loan of $1.5 billion from the Islamic Development Bank for that site construction. But that money, if you were to just prioritize the money that we spend on these embassies, a part of that money could finance that road construction without a need to borrow money. The government, the last budget, the government again spent $1.5 billion to pay independent power producer, but that's just one independent power producer, Car Power Ship. That $1.5 billion added to our debt and its servicing, but instead of buying that expensive electricity from Car Power Ship, from a floating ship that has sailed away, if we had invested that in a power plant, that would have generated income, enable business operations to increase in the country, increase the tax base, increase the revenue for the country.
Yeah, but Dr. Gagigo, one would say, here what we had, the car policy became an option, and quite a few countries within the sub-region, they use that because it takes a lot. It takes years to build a power plant. It takes millions and millions of dollars to build a power plant. And what they had, one would argue, it was an interim that, look, lampa yange fay, afe yange karaji. It's better to look for an alternative like that, and all of a sudden, lampa idor di taka. I mean, how long is it going to take to build a power plant like that? 2 years, 3 years?
Well,
less than that?
Let's say, yeah, it takes a...
So I'm saying, you coming in as a new president, clearly the power generation is not there. Are you telling me that investing in car power ship, now, one can argue, was corruption involved? Was it did we, how to call it, did we put out a good deal for us? But to just kind of poo-poo at the idea that the alternative would have been to build a new power plant that's going to take 2-3 years. How about the problem now? That we need the lights to be on.
That's a very good point you put there. Now the question is, how long was the agreement with Car Powership? The agreement was 7 years. Now, as I've mentioned before, if you have an acute energy problem and while you have plans to construct a power plant and you bring Car Powership to help you in an interim period, that would be understandable. Nobody would have a problem with that. And many countries have have done that before. But this government, what did they do? It was 7 years. Basically from 2017 to 2024. And this wasn't a 7-year agreement. It was done on a 2-year renewable basis.
Correct.
Where power purchase agreement, where if you want to have a good deal, you do it on a long-term basis. And the question also is not just the issue that we are buying power. It is how much we were paying for it. That didn't make sense. It's the price.
The deal itself.
Yes. Basically, it's like I built a house for $5 million. That's the cost of building a house. You want to rent my house, and I tell you, Mr. Jeng, I'll rent you the house, but the rent will be $5 million per year. Does that make sense to you?
No, it doesn't.
The capacity on Car Powership, it was 30 megawatts. We were paying $30 million per annum for it. Per annum. In other words, what we were paying them each single year was the cost of that power plant and that ship each single year. That makes no sense whatsoever.
So why would you think they'll make a deal like that? Do you think corruption has a lot to do with it? Or was it just bad decision makers?
It's a combination of both. Do I believe that Adam Barrow was getting something from that Car Power deal ship? I don't think so. I think he was just completely incompetent, not asking the right questions, asking why are we doing this and for how long should we have it? But for why that contract went for that long, absolutely there was corruption, and there's evidence for it. I wrote about it in articles. The audit reports from 2017 to 2022 that are available, so that there were some years where they were inflating the account receivables from Car Powership. And remember, we had to pay Car Powership in dollars. So there was tricks around in the exchange rates. These were also picked up by the auditors. There were some years where the accounts receivables were inflated by $60 million. So there were individuals who were benefiting from this. Absolutely, there was corruption involved, and there's evidence for it. The audit reports are available. I wrote some articles about that. I have the audit reports. They are online. They've been there for many years. The last two audit reports of that power purchase agreement are still not out yet. Another example of the bad governance that we have. But the problem here is that there was corruption involved, but more importantly, at a policy level. This is where you do not have to be an energy expert. I've never worked inside a power plant. I don't know how generators work inside. I cannot do a circuit for you in your house, but you should be able to ask as a leader a basic question.
Right.
The cabinet meeting, say, you are bringing this power purchase agreement.
Right.
Is this the best deal we are supposed to have? What are we paying here relative to best practices in other countries?
Yes.
This is a large amount of money. We are even taking money from the budget to pay for this. Is this the right use of resources? A leader should be able to ask some basic questions. And what I'm telling you, for me, when it comes to energy, I have experience in energy projects across multiple institutions. These are some things where I don't have to be an expert of how a generator runs.
Right. To ask the right questions.
If the Ministry of Energy wants to present a project of that nature, there will be some questions you will have to answer, and you have to answer them convincingly.
Correct.
Because if they don't address our energy problem, they make our situation worse. I don't need to be an expert to know that is not a solution that we have. That's not a solution we have to live with. That's a solution we kick out the door.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gagigo. Brother Marong.
How long we gonna keep Doctor here? It's been a while, though. It's
Let me
almost
see.
1 o'clock, man.
Oh my God. You know, when you're having fun talking about policies, it looks like time where I couldn't even believe it, almost 4 o'clock, bro.
Yes,
And it's
yes.
only,
It's almost 1 o'clock my time. So I
oh my
just want to make
goodness. Oh
sure
my goodness.
3
And
hours.
I haven't even got into the controversial crazy things. We've been focused on policy, and you know that's not my angle. I'm gonna guide you what the Rube affair.
Yeah.
So maybe I can start the Rube and then you can follow.
Absolutely. You can do whatever you
Well, Dr.
want.
Gagigo, we always said this here on this platform that our best bet in 2026, this was a while back, and anyone who usually follows this program would hear me say this, that the United Democratic Party vessel is the best that we have out there that we can use to defeat Barrow in 2026. Clearly, the vessel has a problem. It's like, Houston, we have a problem. Vessel, we all see what is happening. It has fractured. You have a new entity called the Unite Movement for Change. And then you still have the United Democratic Party as a party. How do you see the fracture in regards to the possibility of the opposition be really competitive against the incumbent? Because we know in Africa, running against an incumbent is very difficult. You can't really make one single mistake. And what we are seeing now is a disunity. And then, of course, we have the Dr. Gagigos of this world forming their political party. Before you name it, you have all these parties. And we don't have a vessel that can actually put up a formidable force against President Barrow. How do you see that? How do you see this whole UDP problem? How is it kind of making it so difficult for the opposition? Or do you think it's a blessing in disguise? How do you see all this?
I mean, you probably know. You probably know the UDP problem more than I do. I don't think it's a blessing. I mean, anytime you have individuals that were together in one and there's a breakup and some acrimony involved, it's not a good thing. But again, I think 1 year is a lifetime in politics. A lot of things can happen.
That is true.
Yes, you have a situation where this the Talib group has been formed. They splintered, they've left UDP and with many others. But yes, while it might be difficult to conceive of them coming back, anything is possible. I think you could see maybe people can come together and put their differences aside and work for the common good. So it's entirely possible that maybe there may be some rapprochement. What is the likelihood of it? I have no idea because I am not an internal member of UDP. I don't know any of these parties involved, the individuals involved in any close way. So I don't really, I can't say for sure that it will happen or it will not happen. But like I said, I don't think people should despair. People should despair that there are many parties. I see a lot of people, getting discouraged by it. It is what I would worry is if we have the same set of parties, 1 or 2. The goal here is not just defeating an incumbent in one single party. Gambia is going to be around for eternity, we hope, let's just say for generations to come. There will be life in Gambia after this election. So any Gambian that that feels like they have something to offer, let's give them a hearing. If they don't offer anything realistic, it doesn't make life difficult not to vote for a particular candidate. if you have a new person coming in today and UDP presents a candidate that we believe is a very good alternative, you can have 10 new parties, and combined, those 10 new parties can have less than 1%, as we have seen in Senegal. In their election, there were like 10 parties that got less than 1%.
Yeah.
So the presence of a large number of parties is not a problem in and of itself, because the competencies of their leaders are not going to be equal. The credibility of the programs that they present are not going to be equal. It is eventually going to boil down to about 3 or 4 parties. Now, if fate has it that there is a coalition and it's a two-way race, fine. If it's a three-way race, I still believe there is a chance to beat Adama Barrow, even if it's a three-way race. Now, what configuration that three-way race would happen, I have no idea.
I think I have an idea. So I heard you say something on Kerfatu that was very revealing, and I think it got you in trouble. You said there is no way that His Excellency A.N.M. Dabo can defeat President Barrow, mano o mano. You said that. What is that based on? So you don't think Mr. Dabo can actually defeat Barrow? Or do you want to walk back that statement?
No, I mean, I don't listen. My goal right now, let me emphasize this. My goal right now is to see Adama Barrow being removed. By the way, I made that comment. I stand by it. I don't think it got me in trouble. People disagree with it. It didn't get me in any trouble, and I stand by it.
So you don't think he can defeat President Barrow?
No, it's simple. For me, I gave a reason for why I thought, why I came to that position. That in 2021, it was essentially, we were given that option. Gambians still went with Adama Barrow. And if you give the same options to the Gambians, it is going to be very, you shouldn't expect a different result. That doesn't say anything about, like I said, I have the utmost respect for Ousainou Darboe, as everyone should, given the sacrifice this individual has done for the country. So it is not here. It is not an indictment of his qualification, but the arbiters. I have no arbiters. The key arbiters of who should be the leader of the country, the Gambian electorate. They were given an option. They made a decision. My position right now is, let's try to give a different set of alternatives. Lawyer Darboe is going to run again because he declared his candidacy for UDP.
Correct.
By all means, I expect him to run. And the Gambian people will make that alternative. I just believe another alternative should be given to them.
What do you think about?
But you I think
last question, Rick. Last question.
You asked the question. No.
Last question.
Hold on.
Like I gave you the other time. The last time I gave you a thing. So what do you think about this Taliban Suda phenomenon? This Unite Movement for Change. What's your take on it?
Well, I know of Taliban Suda. I don't know of what phenomenon you are talking about.
The movement, Unite Movement for Change. He's the leader of the movement.
Yes, I know the movement, yes.
Right. So what's your take on it?
Phenomenon, I don't know. I know of the movement, yes. So it's a splinter group from UDP, as far as I know. So now we'll have to see. This is the first time, as far as I know, that Talib, since Talib came into the political scene, he came in as a member of UDP, always stood as a member of UDP. So it's going to be very difficult for anyone to say anything with confidence about how Talib would fare outside of UDP. Of course, he has tremendous name recognition, but this is the first time he's going to be out in a new structure. So it's too early to say anything about it. And like I said, it's always a positive thing to see great new faces in the political scene. If you don't appeal to the Gambian people, they shouldn't and they will not vote for you. And your presence there doesn't make it impossible. For instance, the presence of Talib, should he decide to run, which I expect him to do, does not prevent Ousseynou Dabo from running, doesn't prevent others from running.
Correct.
Maybe at some point they can come together. Let's see what happens. Many things are possible. I expect that there will be efforts on the way for political parties to come together. So right now, the only thing we can say with absolute certainty is that we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Dr. Gagigo. Brother Marong. And
hey,
thanks for
Dr.
allowing me
Gagigo, it's been a marathon, and thank you very much for joining us today. I will give you the opportunity for your closing statements. I don't have any further questions.
So Bugulo Rubedal.
No, I'm not involved in that stuff, man. My focus was Dr. Gagigo to come on this platform today and present his ideas because he wants to form a political party, not his opinion about other movement or the political party. And Dr. Gagigo, a Baribunka man here from Vancouver, Washington, who has no political experience, is advising you to talk about your policies, not have an opinion about other people. I'm just letting you know that that's a fair advice from the brother, man. So I'm giving you an opportunity for your closing remarks.
Yeah.
No, thank you very much. You know, as I said at the beginning, for us, getting into this is not about personal gains or hunger for a particular position. It's to make sure that what we are going through right now in the Gambia, we stop. We basically, we are free from this disease of poverty. And then, so that our children tomorrow and their children will find a society that's very transformed from the one that we have gone through. And we owe it, for those of us who are going, we owe it to the Gambian people to present them with many options. We can have many political, in fact, you can have 20 political parties, 30, 40. Not all of these political parties that are creating are equally serious about contesting. This consolidation will happen at some point. What is important here is, let us give an opportunity for any potential leader that is vying for leadership to present their platform. And our party will do that. We are open to allying with other political parties. We're not ruling anyone out. We have certain principles and red lines will not cross, because our goal is on the day after election. Any principle that's going to compromise the ability of Gambia to have a leader that's focused on development, we will not be part of that grouping. I am not I'm not going to go into any group saying that if I don't have the leadership, I will not be part of that. That will not be my goal, because being in a leadership position is not like a hunger of mine. I have options to go to before I entered this, and I still believe, even if I get what I'm trying for right now, I still have a life to look after, should I succeed in this political arena. So I will urge Gambians to focus not just on a leader that can just beat Adama Barrow. I know most people want Adama Barrow out. That one is obvious. You don't have to look at an opinion poll. You go around the country, people want Adama Barrow out. So now, as we move towards effecting that change, let's focus on the kind of leaders that will make sure that things over the past 9 years, they become history. So thank you very much for
Thank you very much, Dr. Gagigo. Thank you very, very, very much. You did not disappoint. You definitely did not disappoint. We appreciate you, and we will bring you back, because I'm sure a lot of things are going to happen. The new kid on the block with another new kid on the block, they can make stuff happen. I've seen things happen before. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate you.
All right, man. Thank you, Dr. Gagigo.
Brother Marong.
Yes,
like
sir.
always, we don't do these things without having partners. We have a new partner that's always been here with us.
Global Properties observes Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Get tested and know your status.
In honor of the fighters, survivors, and the ones we lost, Global Properties is giving access to women to own a plot of land at Greenville today.
We are making it easy. Buy a plot of land with zero deposit and 24 monthly payment for only $20,833. Early detections saves lives.
Thank you, Global Properties, coming back. They renewed. And bro, I heard something and I'm like, wait a minute, did I hear it right? 24 months, $20,000 a month? You have a plot of land? Bro, what is 20,000? Let's do the math here. Did I hear it right? Did you hear it, Brother Maro? All of you that are listening out there, I think this is a deal you really need to look into. Jeez, did I hear this right? Less than $300 a month for 24 months to have a plot of land in Gunjur? Bro, when I hang up here, I am making that call to Nilan and said, please let me know. This is a deal that you can beat. And all thousands of you that are out there, I don't know whether, did you hear what I heard, Brother Maro? Or do you want me to play it again? Maybe we need to play it again for our customers.
Global Properties observes Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Get tested and know your status.
In honor of the fighters, survivors, and the ones we lost, Global Properties is giving access to women to own a plot of land at Greenville today.
We are making it easy. Buy a plot of land with zero deposit and 24 monthly payment for only $20,833. Early detections saves lives.
It's interesting. It's interesting. Thank you, Global Properties. And also this cancer awareness, very important indeed. Brother Marong, so how was what's your take on Dr. Gagigo?
Oh, he holds his own and he, present what he knows, and, viewers just got to listen and digest it and, make the best use of it. So, I hope he will come back here again when he register his party and present those facts. So, it's the battle of ideas, as long as you stay and state what your vision is, I think people just need to make their choice. So, and, he was measured in utterances and delivery. And, I think that's what it takes. So, they come here, we just ask the questions, nothing predisposition, so, we just ask questions as it goes, and, they answered. So that's about it,
Yeah, really, listening to him, and I've seen him on other platforms as well. Nobody will doubt his intellect, and clearly he has the experience. But looking at the reality of our politics, if you ask me, like most Gambians, I want to see change in 2026. And I would like to see a Dr. Gagigo, get with a Taliban Sudani movement. I would like to see something like that. I would like to see other political parties, because I seriously believe that it's going to take a coalition of parties coming together to give our country a chance. And I think that needs to be looked into. That is why in the opening of this, I talked about why the movement should shy away from, attacking the United Democratic Party. Things have happened in the past. And I think the United Democratic Party should also hold fire. This whole idea of betrayal and all of that, I think they should put that to rest. I think the focus should be, this is what we intend to do. Because I really see at some point that parties may just come back together. And to me, that's the only viable, realistic way of putting up a challenge. If we want change, so we are into this feel good or defante, or just, then we can do it. And then we'll be looking at another 5 years under this current regime. So we want change. Everybody's talking about system change. Come on, man. Then let's do what needs to be done. No, come on.
I listen to you. I listen to you. It's quite yes, it's quite fascinating listening to you. That's why I exercise restraint not to rube too much, because the thinking that in the future, the same people that you want to rube might be able to sit in the same room with a very nice temperature to talk about. Hold on. Yeah, I'm just going, I'm telegraphing. And also, what I learned from you today, your job might be very challenging, because when you go in there and you talk about people in Kaur having electricity supplies and all that, how do you compare that what we could do better in the future for a new movement for the future? I just want to put that out there, and if you could just summarize that and let me know what is the alternative position as far as these rhetorics mixing up what the status quo is.
This is what I do. It's just my natural instinct. When somebody comes here and, like a Dr. Gagigo, forming a party that is basically saying that the current incumbent, things are not working, my job is to say, wait a minute, this is what the incumbent is doing. My job is to, I'm not just gonna come here just to say, look, everybody, I've declared.
No, just say what you gotta say. No,
I'm just gonna ask.
You don't have to judge nobody. I'll pose a question to you, which is legitimate.
I'm answering.
But going into, I'm not gonna sit here. Everyone has their way of approach, and that's what diversity means, and how we come from different backgrounds and different generation and different, how we sit. If we sit here and agree on every single thing, what is the essence of us sitting here? We'll let Musajan sit here for 4 hours and just say whatever here. What I'm trying to say is, and I think there are smart politicians who are watching this platform smarter than the Badabunka guy. What I'm saying is,
I'm sure
you put a kind of crunch, you put into crunch position when you say the status quo, and you are forward looking for something change. You're looking for change in 2026. I think you should be able to do a fair analysis, but also be able to articulate what are the pitfalls and what you think people are better off come 2026. That's all I'm just saying. That's all. It's not a dig at you, but I understand. We cannot confuse idealism with fantasy. We can't do that. So we just need to make sure we articulate a vision. And I really wholeheartedly, and I know you do, wholeheartedly, we are better off, looking at the future and fixing our problems that we daily been struggling for 60 years. And I say that wholeheartedly without no apology. And I think we could do more. We could do better from the status quo. And that's the position I hold, at least.
Like you, I believe we need change in 2026. I think where you get a little bit maybe confused is when I ask questions that pretty much saying, wait a minute, this is what the other side is saying. Like you used the example when I said, in Kaur, I'm posing these questions because these are the realities that the opposition needs to deal with. Again, it's going to come down to the electorate. I'm playing the devil's advocate. Again, that doesn't undermine what I believe, come 2026, the best vehicle to bring about change is for the main opposition parties to sit down and make a deal. Man lo lagum. If they don't do that, I'm not saying it's impossible that this guy cannot be defeated. It is very possible. Like Dr. Gagigo said, 1 year, 6 months is a long time. And that what happened in 2021, maybe things have changed. But knowing what I know about the electorate, knowing what I know, I don't think much has changed.
Nothing has changed from 2021 to up to date, huh?
No, Moine. I don't think in terms of, the psychology of the race. I think if we fail to form a coalition most observers would tell you, we might be handing it over to President Barrow. If we fail to find a coalition of some sort, I think it will be very difficult to defeat him. Is it impossible? No, it's not. But I will not put my money on it. Let me put
So
it that
what do you mean by the psychology of the race? What do you mean by that?
The psychology of the race, knowing the electorate, our people, the voters, what they want to see, just like in 2016, the psychology of the race, they want to bet on a horse that they believe, or an alternative that they believe will be able to defeat the incumbent. And I think that's what the opposition needs to do. The electorate needs to see that, you know what? I think we can do this, just like we did in 2016. What happened was we saw most of the voters, they don't necessarily support party A or party B, or they were soft supporters, Jaraluma Purma vote. But when we created an alternative that they saw with the hype, that's what I mean by the psychology of the race. That's what we need to do. That is a reason why the current government is very jittery. There's a reason why the Ibrahim Silas is overreacting of this movement, because they're scared of the potential, what it can do. That's all I'm saying. That's what I mean by the psychology of we are on the same team.
No. I'm not on nobody's team. I am here for Gambia, and I will speak unless and until I decide otherwise. No one will decide for me. That's what I can say.
No, what I mean, team Moine, you're Team Gambia. I'm Team Gambia too.
Okay, no problem. So I'm just man will steal my thunder. I can speak very well for myself, and everyone knows that, and I'm very opinionated.
Hey, where you think I'm saying I'm not saying that?
No. I don't even say that. I'm just saying that what I see is the fact that too much Rube can create bad blood, and I'm not in for bad blood. At the end of the day, money. Yo, naka nga de gisee affaire bi an man naka nga man dégg rek laa dee wax man duma dee laam-laame te lu war ëllëg boo xam ne ñun dañ war a toog ñu booloo xalaat dégg walante booloo xalaat loolu laay gën a wax. So loolu la wax let's play, let's be passionate, let's share what we believe in. And I think the emergence of new political parties has injected a lot of energy into a political space. Let's translate that energy into votes. Let's mobilize folks. At the end of the day, what is clear is one political party or movement cannot win the presidency. At the end of the day, we will all come together. When we come together, let's not go with these, somehow someone says something to you that you're going to take personal, that you cannot sit with that person at the table to decide for a better future for the Gambia. And that's what I'm saying. That's why I am against personal attacks, harassment, bullying. Let's be careful, name calling, because at the end of the day, how do you say this in Wolof? Lu ñu ñor mooy Gambia te loolu dañ ko war a xeex, because nguur gi bu nekk fee di tey sàmbañ suñ baat déglu ñu mu ngi def lu nekk te we need to vote them out. And if you vote that out, let's work together. Man, loolu laay wax.
That has to be the last word. It is profound, and I absolutely put my signature on that. Let's work together to bring
Let's
about.
work together. And I think the movement is up to something. And if you're not missing the word, you're missing something. I mean, there are people who are gravitating towards the movement. There is a message that they are offering. And if you really think you will be dismissive of that, you need to think otherwise. And I think where I am asking you, the psychological of the race was, is there a need for change? Yes, absolutely. From what I hear, with all the challenges, there is a need. But how do we get there? The modalities and the formulas, I think that is very, very important. Yes. I've never said I am part of UDP. I don't even hold a card for UDP. But when I sit on this platform, I don't speak bungums, man. I speak my mind, and may God help me to continue to do that, right? On every single day, right? Yeah.
Brother Marong, definitely, yes. You have the last word.
Yes. Definitely.
We will be back.
He said, I think Saria is drifting too.
Is
Yeah,
what?
yellowed. I am not drifting to nowhere, bro. I mean, absolutely. I'm gonna be independent, and I'm gonna share my ideas without
that you are independent.
Without ill will. No. Couple knows. Couple know what's up. You know, couple. Musajan cannot say he's independent anymore. He's part of a movement.
I am definitely.
That's my difference with him.
Let me tell you this. I am part of the movement, but I'll never compromise by telling the truth. I'm part of the movement because I see the movement as the solution to bring change and defeat President Barrow come 2026. That's the only reason why I'm part of the movement.
Thank you very much, Father Moses.
Leadership of Talib Ahmed Bensouda. I think the guy can get it done. Seriously.
Hey, you know, like Colin Powell said, he says optimism is a force multiplier. That's what he said. And this is a man that I respect a lot. And he says, the day sailors or soldiers or airmen or Marines bring their problem to you, either they don't trust you, it's a failure of leadership. With that, I yield and have a great weekend, Father Moses.
Thank you very much, brother man.
Continue to be a force. Optimism is a force multiplier. Continue to be optimism.
Hey,
it's really great.
We get help from Pap Sambajau. I don't know where the hell he's at. And my man bailed out on me. Brother Bank. Hey, I can always rely on my brother from Vancouver.
Yes. Yes, I got to wake up because, you know, it's a call to duty, Musa. We are all important in this whole thing. We must speak, and whatever will bring change, I think that is very, very, very important. And I don't think my advice to anyone, don't underestimate Talib Bensouda's movement for change. Don't underestimate Gagigo, Mr. Gagigo, and Mr. Saho, and all that. Everyone brings something different. And again, remember, the common denominator here is the 1997 Constitution. If the current president leads by 10 votes, he's the president. He's elected by the Constitution that we have. With that thinking, you need to forge alliances and partnership. And don't burn the bridge, man. That's all I got to say. Don't burn the bridges.
I think you're on the right track, man.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Inshallah, we will be back.
Inshallah.
Yeah. Thank you to all our viewers. And this time around, I'm very impressed with our viewers. No insults, no Gaddafi, none of that. I really thank you very much, my brother.
All right.